Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the February meeting of the Waikīkī Neighborhood Board. Okay. As Sarah and Lisa have pointed out to us, Valentine's Day is Friday, so please be good to your other halves.
Here, 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 here.
First on our agenda tonight will be the Honolulu Fire Department. Fire Department, guys? Oh, there he is.
Hello, good evening. Captain Keone Abaya with Waikīkī Fire Station. Statistics for January. We had 2 structure fires, 1 nuance fire, 27 activated fire alarms with no fire. As far as emergencies, 188 medicals, 7 motor vehicle crash collisions, and 2 ocean rescues. As far as your safety tip for the month, we're dealing with power outages. So to help prepare your families, prepare your supplies, ensure your flashlights, radios, etc. contain batteries that are charged. Don't forget to charge extra batteries. Prepare your family by checking with your family members. If anyone relies on medical devices requiring power, ensure you plan ahead. Prepare your food and water. Set your fridge and freezer to the coldest settings. Keep them closed as much as possible during the outage. Fill up your containers of drinking water and other needs. Protect your electronics. Unplug unnecessary electronics to prevent damage from power surges. Never touch down power lines. Always assume lines are energized and dangerous. For more safety tips, visit honolulu.gov/DEM. Learn more about power outages at hawaiianelectric.com/storm center.
Anybody in the audience with a question for the fire department, please go use a microphone on that table.
Hi, can you tell me if there's a non-emergency number to the fire department? Because the number I got off of Google didn't work when I tried calling it.
I believe you can call 911 and they'll ask you what you want. You want fire, police, or if it's like a non.
That's what I ended up doing. This number in Google, I just kept ringing and ringing.
Please speak into the mic, ma'am.
The number in Google just kept ringing and ringing, and then it finally cut off. And then I called the 911 and they transferred me to the fire station. This was on January 31st at 6:31 p.m. And I was just very upset with the way my call was handled. It was not an emergency. I told the officer that answered that there was a broken fire hydrant on Alawai, and the water was just spurting out. And he goes, "Well, where are you?" I said, "Well, I'm at my home because I forgot my phone." "Well, nobody else has called about this. Why are you calling?" I said, "Because it's wasting water." And he left me with the feeling that nobody was going to come out and look at it. He said, "Well, where is it?" And I told him again where it was, right by the school. The next day I went by about noon, the water was still pouring out of the fire hydrant. Do you know anything about that?
Not sure. Where are you located?
It was on Alawai, right by the school fence, the elementary school, right down the street from the fire department.
I'm not sure. We weren't on duty at that moment, but we're not sure exactly how your call was routed.
Okay. Because water's a precious commodity, and for them to take it just like, well, why are you calling? It's it was just very upsetting.
Not sure. I would think if you called them, then they would get in touch with us, whichever station is in your area, and then we'd probably go over there and take a look and see if we could handle it.
So in the future, there is no non-emergency number for the fire department, just call 911 and be transferred?
I gotta get back to you on that exactly. I thought if you went through 911 and you told them what your situation was, they'd reroute you to where you needed to go. So in that case you needed the fire department to go check it out. And I guess somehow you got in touch with the fire department at some point, you're saying?
Okay, well, yeah, I got transferred, but, you know, it just seemed like I was tying up an emergency line for something that, you know, wasn't a life or death situation. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the audience for the Board of Water Supply? Yes, go ahead, use mic. Pardon me, for the fire department. It wound up on fire, water.
Hi, so I actually didn't necessarily have a question. It was in reference to the lady's question, but at a previous neighborhood board meeting, there's actually the water waste hotline with the Board of Water Supply. It's on their website that you can call in reference to any water waste. But I just wanted to bring that up.
Thank you.
I can also provide the number just in case. 808-748-5041.
Thank you. See no more hands in the audience. Board members, do you have any questions for the fire department? Anything for the fire department? Seeing nothing, thank you very much, and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Next, Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening, Lieutenant Angela Kitagawa from First Watch, Night Watch. I'll first go over the stats. This month for robberies, we had 6, whereas previously we had 2. For burglaries, this month we had 8, previously we had 10. For thefts, this month we had 128, previously we had 98, excuse me. For UAMV, this month we had 23, where previously we had 14. For assaults, this month we had 32, where previously we had 46. Sex crimes, this month we had 4, previously we had 2. For bike, skateboard on sidewalk, this month we had 2, previously we had 0. For speeding, we had 19 citations, 0 arrests. Previously we had 21 citations with 0 arrests. Parking, we had 1,972, where previously we had 2,135. For loud muffler prohibited noise, this month we had 3, where previously we had 0. Park closures, this month we had 75 citations and 20 arrests, where previously we had 102 citations with 13 arrests. Total calls for service this month was 3,142, where previously it was 4,320. And then I wanted to address a few questions that we had from the previous meeting. We are upping our bike patrol to be out more. I know the question was to have more foot patrol, more presence out there. So our command is upping the bicycle unit. So that is working. We're also working on more projects to address noise complaints and whatnot that are going to be coming shortly in the future. Thank you.
Questions from the audience for Honolulu Police Department? John, did you have anything?
Just want to mention, I keep my own stats in my area. We have 25 individuals who are responsible for 33% of our arrests. They all live on the street. We have a police shortage. We have a supposed tourist emergency. And the people living on the street are overwhelming our police department and hurting our community. And every effort is being made to address it, but it seems like an impossible situation. And as long as we have these attractions here in Waikīkī, as long as we have just the basic attraction of Waikīkī, but we have the church feedings Monday through Friday. We have McDonald's that keeps their door open and people go in and get their sodas and all that. We have these entities here that attract people into Waikīkī while we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get people help. And you're not helping anybody by feeding them and keeping them on the street. You're actually killing them 30 years earlier. They die 30 years earlier when they live on the street. So if you're enabling that, you're complicit in their death. That's my position on it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Second, anybody else from the audience? Sir, I saw your hand. Please use the microphone. Sarah, you're next.
Hi, thanks. My name is Rob Sanich. I'm a little bit of a novice here. I haven't been in this meeting in a couple of years, but thank you for all that you folks do to try to help keep us safe and take care of business. And I'm sure the homeless situation is just a constant barrage of time of what you're dealing with. But I find it interesting when I listen to your statistics that two of the things that annoy me the most about living in Waikīkī are the lowest on your list. And one of them was the loud muffler citations, because I assure you, screamingly loud mufflers go by my home multiple times a day. And the other was bicycles on sidewalks. What was that? The answer was it 2 or 3? And that's constantly happening. Literally, as I drive down my driveway or we drive up our ramp, there are constantly bicycles. I literally have to stop, look, heat, because there's often a bicyclist flying down on the sidewalk constantly. And I'm just curious as to why there's so little enforcement on those 2 items.
Well, like we said, that we are upping our bike patrol that will help us kind of finagle that kind of area. Being in a car, it's kind of more difficult because once they stop, that bicycle's gone or whatnot. I'm not trying to make any excuses. But hopefully with the bike patrol and a little bit more foot patrol that we're looking into starting and actually already implementing, that could help with those stats. We hear you on that, and we understand that is an issue. So we'd love to work with you guys if you guys have any other ideas too. But hopefully having the bike patrol and whatnot out there will help us get some more of that.
Quick question.
Sure.
When you folks are driving around or cruising, are your windows typically up or are they typically down in your cruise car?
It depends. However, I would say personally, they're probably up for the air conditioning. So.
And I understand that you're not exactly wearing, shorts and a t-shirt and
Right,
flip-flops,
right, exactly.
but I think maybe if that window was cracked a little,
Mhm.
might be more likely to hear what's going on.
Right, and sometimes the loud mufflers, because after the last meeting, I went and talked to my personnel. A lot of times, if they're going after them and let's say they take off, if it's a moped or whatnot, we're documenting it. We're not pursuing due to our population here, and we don't want to have pursuits going all around.
I
So
agree.
we're looking at trying to be creative with different ways of doing that. But again, we'd love to work with everybody. If anybody has suggestions, then
Right.
we're
I didn't hear anything in your stats about vehicles like convertibles driving with blasting music, because if I'm not mistaken, I think the rule is if you can hear it from 30 feet away, it's
that
too
is
loud.
correct. Yeah.
But
We
that's
don't have a
also sort of a
specific stat.
constant thing that you might not notice if your windows are up.
Correct. I understand. I hear you.
But when my lanai doors are open and I live 20 feet off a road,
Yes. And
it's-
everything.
it's very
echoes
obvious
like
to me on a
you
regular
do.
basis.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to share those
Thank you, sir.
things with you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate.
Sarah. Sarah?
Hi, Sarah Worth. So last month, I actually had a question for the mayor regarding HPD because I attended a Coffee with a Cop, one of your programs you had actually with our secretary, Lisa, and with Melissa, sorry. And one of the things that came up, we were talking about why do we have a shortage of over 400 officers on this island? What's going on? And so one of the things that was brought up was, first of all, there's not the same recruitment funds. Like, so, for example, bonuses that other cities offer. Other cities offer quite a bit, they offer more salary and they offer more bonuses for signing up. So when I asked these questions to the mayor, I was told that, and I'm hoping you can, since we had a difference of opinion, the mayor's office and I, if you could have information to clarify. First of all, I was told that HBDs, they have to pay for their own uniforms, but the mayor's office said that they only have to pay for anything that's not the standard. So anything above and beyond the standard, that's when the officers pay. The second one was the mayor's office said that HPD was content with the salary levels they were receiving. The third thing I was told was that the bonuses, HPD receives recruitment funds, and it's up to HPD to recruit. However, my concern was that obviously they're not getting enough recruitment funds if other cities are outfunding them. So these are, I just wanted to have clarification between HPD and the mayor's office. I know you can't supply that today, that's fine. I just wanted to put,
I know from the recruitment side, the last year or so, they've implemented a lot of different incentives for the recruits through training process with different money allotments for different levels until graduation and then several years after. So that has been implemented and I believe has helped with recruitment. I know that it's the type of a bonus kind of program that they're doing. For the uniforms, our salary, everything else, that's all negotiated through our SHOPO contracts. Right now, we're actually in negotiations. We don't have any information. We don't get information till because being arbitrated and stuff right now. But that is where our salary, we do get an allotment, some payback for uniforms. That's all, again, through our SHOPO contract, our union, and that's gets deliberated every 4 years. So right now, they're currently deliberating another contract for that. As opposed to opinions on how much we get paid and whatnot, I feel like that's not something that I could address right now.
Board members, any other questions for the police department? Seeing none.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time, so that's my question is, regarding towing on Alawai Boulevard, who, should I be asking a question of the police department for restricted timeframe towing? Or is that something, I know that's going to come up at another point in this evening. Will
On
you
what-
still be around to address that? I don't know who instructs Honolulu Towing when to tow and when not to. Is that something
That's
that's,
negotiation through the cities. We just enforce it.
I'm sorry? Right, you're told to enforce it, and I know that you arrive and then you put out tickets, but who actually tells Honolulu Towing, hey, it's time to come and tow the cars, or it's time to not do that?
If we see a violation, then we would initiate that. Or if public calls in and says there's a vehicle
Well,
parked.
I'm referring to when it's a whole street load, like when you do the Alawai.
If it's during the morning hours
Mhm.
or whatnot, if the beatman or patrol officer is being proactive and there's no calls or anything, they'll probably go out and see if there's any violations.
Okay. Will you still be around when, I think we have another person who's going to bring up some information about talking about that towing that's just begun at the end part of the Alawai.
Okay,
Will you still be around to comment or?
sure. Is
At
that
that point
someone
in the evening?
specific or?
Can you folks ask her to stop by the side door and give her specific details? Because the towing hours are specified by city council. And it has nothing to do with them. They just have to enforce it. And the contract for the tow trucks is with the city, not with the police department.
Right.
So-
Okay. So then that was my question.
Yeah.
Do I address you with the question or do I
Yeah.
pursue it elsewhere?
So
Thank you.
could you wait by the side for a few minutes, see if anybody else has anything else? Yes, please use the microphone.
Hi, it's just back to what you were discussing before about the noise. We just have one homeless lady that lives on the Alawai that has been with the police many times, and I've taken photos of them all having a chat. But then still at night, she has some problem where she needs to yell and scream all night. And I'm just wondering if there's any plan for somebody like that.
We can't really have a plan. We can respond to an issue that's happening. However,
So does that mean that what we should do is just call you in the middle of the night and get you to come in?
correct. We can always try to provide outside help via shelters, mental health, all that kind of stuff, but it's still up to the individual whether they get that.
I don't see any more hands anywhere. Lieutenant, thank you very much for
Thank you.
being with us tonight.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
And next we have Dominic on the screen from Board of Water Supply. And Dominic, did you hear the question about the fire hydrant? Is that something that they would call you about?
It is. Yeah, I made a note of it and I will send it to our communications group to follow up with our operations staff. If the person that had the inquiry is still there, I just wanted to find out if which side of it, if it was on the Alawai or the Kapahulu side of the campus.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Dominic, if you want to make your report, go ahead.
Okay, sure. So looking back, month of January, no main breaks to report. And somebody in there gave a good portion of my monthly update. The Board of Water Supply has implemented a water waste hotline system. So anybody who sees broken pipes, broken sprinklers, running faucets, excessive watering practices, or any other unnecessary wasteful water uses, please contact the Board of Water Supply so that we can follow up. There are several ways to contact us. One is through our website, boardofwatersupply.com/water waste. The second is to contact us via email, which is contactus@hbws.org. And lastly, as somebody noted previously, you can call us in office at 808-748-5041. And at this time, I'd be happy to take questions on behalf of the Board of Water Supply.
Audience members, do you have any questions for the Board of Water Supply? Sarah, you have a question?
Hi, Dominic. This is Sarah Worth speaking. I love the hotline. So I actually did try emailing an issue with pictures and so forth. I never got a follow-up with it. Would it be possible just to email you the information directly to see what became
Sure.
of that? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Do you have my email?
I believe I can get it from Anson, right? Do you have?
Asking for his email?
Yeah.
I don't have his
Okay.
Okay. It's easy. It's DDIAS. So DDIAS @hbws.org.
Okay. I'll.
Any other questions for Board of Water Supply?
And I apologize, I didn't hear the response, but which side of the campus was that the leaking hydrant on again?
Please go to the mic.
Oh, here we go.
It was on the Alawai on the Mackay side, about halfway down by the fencing for the school.
Okay, got it.
And it looked like the cap had been broken off of the fire hydrant because it was just gushing out. Then the next day, that cap was still off, but it wasn't as powerful. Then the day after that, there was a new cap on it. So,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no more hands anywhere for Board of Water Supply? Nothing online? Okay, thank you, Dominic. We'll see you
Thank you.
next month.
Yes.
At this part of our agenda, we have citizens' concerns for areas not covered on the regular agenda. Does anybody in the audience have a concern? Yes, ma'am. You raised your hand. Please use a mic. Oh, yes.
Good evening. My name is John. I moved here 10 months ago, and I was recently had some visitors from the mainland, and we're walking down Kalakaua. And as you're all familiar, you have a lot of water features there, some fountains and stuff. And the conditions on those, even the 5-year-old looked at it and went, "Yuck." Is there anything that anyone can do that's in the room to kind of urge whoever's in charge of that to fix the fountains or at least clean them up? They're really disgusting. That's my point of view.
Next, we have the lady in the red dress.
Good evening, Chair and Board member. My name is Daniela Rocco Minervi. I am from Neighborhood Board 8. And I know that you're very efficient in running your agenda and cover so many issues. So I want to make sure that since all our neighborhood boards are interrelated and aim at the interest of the whole community, that this board of directors pass a resolution for a complete EIS to send to the Department of Transportation, complete and full, regarding the proposed Alawai Bridge. Thank you very much. It's very important because this bridge affects more than one community, affects neighborhood board 8 and also this community and also community around it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. Pass the resolution.
Go ahead. Ma'am, did you have something you wanted to bring?
Hello, Laura Ribby here. Yes, I know that there wasn't enough time at the last board meeting that you had to bring up the proposal to put it on the resolution to put on your agenda to have discussion. And we would like that for sure to come up for your next board meeting at the next time, because a full EIS is what we need. We have 4 neighborhood board members, I guess you could say, that have already passed this resolution, and we are a lay of neighborhood communities. Okay, think of it that way. We all belong to the Waikīkī Ahupua'a. We're mostly all connected with the police department and our representatives and our legislators and various things. We want to all be connected. So if that would be please placed on the agenda for this next time, we would really appreciate it so we can have full discussion and voting on it. Like I said, there have been 4 neighborhood boards that have already approved it. Right now, the people that are working on the supposed bridge seem to be, I don't know, on vacation or something. They have not really made any move to do anything in quite a number of months now. And we are wondering what their resolution, they've never responded to us back for all of the testimonies that we've given or anything. And we would like an update coming to each one of the boards to tell them exactly why it is that they haven't come forward with answering any of the community concerns, so forth. The other thing is, and I'll have to get the address, but the Army Corps of Engineers, which you know the flood walls that they're proposing around here, and I don't think people in Waikīkī really want them any more than we want them on the Mauka side of the canal, seems to have switched their membership also, and they no longer have the guy that was heading up the committee, and he doesn't know who it is, but he'll find out who it is. I would like to also ask, and I've been asking for the other 4 neighborhood boards for the Army Corps of Engineers to come and tell, what is the update? What are they thinking about for the actual, flood walls? You know that we have view planes, and there won't be any view planes once if they put any of those in. So that would be something I'd really want. I probably have one more thing to say, but I can't remember what it is right now, so I'll turn it over to somebody else. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Lillian Green.
Thank you. I am massively in favor of the bridges over the Alawai. But what I'm asking about is so much more minor. I brought this up at least 4 months ago about a restaurant that's next door to my building, Koa Avenue, encroaching on the sidewalk. Ingress and egress, supposedly, I may be misinformed, but during the pandemic, they were allowed to do that. And then they were supposed to remove it, or the permit was upgraded. We're talking about Shore Fire, about 2400 Koa Avenue. And the sidewalk is such that I always have to go into the street because, yeah, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, I have pictures. What's happening with that?
We don't know.
Last meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah, we can bring it next time.
So how do I get information on what's happening?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'll post it on the Google Drive. We did get a response from last meeting about this, the shore fire.
And what was the response?
I don't
Please.
remember. I'm not too sure.
What did you say? You had gone to the restroom and we were all kind of waiting for you to come back. Was it the mayor's? I'm sorry, I don't remember what the resolution was. I think perhaps she was going to check into it further.
Uh,
Or something. Does anybody remember? What was it? Last week?
Should be on the minutes.
Hmm.
Should be on the minutes of the recording. Yeah.
So
This
I can
is Melissa
my note-
Neelick. I'm a board member. It was Nola Miyazaki, and she had brought an update. And she had said that they brought it to their attention and that they were allegedly upgrading their permit.
How is it legal for them to upgrade their permit when the sidewalk is this big and they're encroaching on our real estate?
Yeah, ask the mayor's
Sidewalks are our
representative
real
because
estate.
that was who had looked into it. And it didn't sound like the permit was finished, but I remember it did sound like they were getting one or trying to get one or upgrading one.
Can anyone say how much real estate they can take up on our public sidewalk, which was 6 feet and now much less than 3?
So actually, from my notes, I actually have the restaurant is in process of renewing, but the incident has been documented by HPD. Anola asked for an update from the Department of Planning for this issue, so she should be here today with an update, hopefully from the Department of Planning of what they have to say about it. And they are initiating a 2-year pilot program for outdoor dining. But hopefully tonight, Nola will be able to give us more information.
They have outdoor dining. They have a patio space, but they've also got 2 tables plus artificial grass on the sidewalk. Anyone with mobility issues, I don't know how they can shimmy past that. Not appropriate. Thank you.
Lady in the back. Sorry.
My name is Valerie Haney. I am on the board of directors of the Waikīkī Shore Beach condominiums. And I really just want to say thank you to this board here for the support on the beach projects, because if anybody's been down to Port DeRussy and seen the deterioration and read the articles in the newspaper, we're in big trouble. But the governor did sign the final environmental impact statement last October. So I'm very hopeful that we will get some movement on these projects, because like it or not, that is a manufactured beach and we need to take care of it. So thank you. Thank you for your all support on that.
Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Susie Bar-Islam. I am the new director of the Daniel K. Inouye Asia Pacific Center for Security Studies on Fort DeRussy. So I wanted to thank the Waikīkī board in welcoming us into the community. I also have our deputy director back there, Russ Bailey, and we just wanted to introduce ourselves and thank you all for welcoming us. Also wanted to share that we will be doing a fence project around the Asia Pacific Center. It will not impact too much. It will just be the exits and a portion of the center where there has been a lot of security incidents around it, but it will not impact the recreational area of Fort DeRussy. But I did want to share that. So welcome any questions that you might have, but thank you so much.
Jeff?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. I just want to personally thank you guys. I've been on this board 20 years. Whenever you do something or there's a change in command or officials, you come before us and present before us. I want to reiterate to the public, you don't require local building permits. You're not held to local zoning, but you're very cognizant. And yeah, I think you do take that into consideration. Thank you very much. As far as the woman who appreciated our efforts on the beaches, just a reminder that Fort DeRussy is actually a federal beach. So we're trying to harness some federal funds, some federal interest, and maybe working with your organization to work to make both those beaches robust and long-term sustainable. So thanks for your engagement. Thanks for being good citizens in our community.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your leadership.
Thank you, General. Oh, sorry, we had one more question.
Just a quick question. You mentioned a fence. So I live very close to Fort DeRussy. I'm just curious, is it on Kalakaua or is it going to be on the main
So the
thoroughfare?
fences will not be so obvious to everyone because it's just sort of like these areas that are hidden, that are exits. And then there's one portion where there's L shape around our building that faces Kalakaua that we will enclose it because it's hidden. There's a lot of hidden activities that occur in that space.
Okay, I understand. So it's not all around the whole property.
No, it's not.
Thank you.
No. It will not impede on your recreational activities, legal recreational activities.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Welcome. Yes.
Hi, Gloria Steiner. I'll make this really quick. First of all, I wanted to piggyback on the gentleman that talked about the fountains. I think I brought the fountains up back in October and they still are not fixed. So it is something that a lot of the tourists, they take pictures there. It's a beautiful thing when they're working and when they're clean, but that hasn't been the case lately. So I'm piggybacking on that. And I'd like to thank the Community Association for the trash cans. They're wonderful. However, the one thing that they've done is they've taken 3 of them and put them in one place instead of leaving them where they used to be. And people are now leaving their trash sitting beside the benches along the beach because there's no trash cans there. They're all down in one area, like 3 at a time. So it would be nice if they would spread those out again so that people can use them as they were intended. And lastly, I want to talk about the crosswalks. The crosswalks on Kuhio and some of the side streets off of Kalakaua are really gone. And I've seen near misses of people trying to get across the street and the traffic. So it'd be nice if those could be updated and repainted. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, it's been waiting since 4 o'clock down here.
Good evening. I just wondering if there's been a follow-up on the issue of the buttons at the crosswalks. As I frequently found out, sometimes they don't work. And I was wondering if there's been like a follow-up on that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else from the audience? Yes.
Hi, so my name is Dale. I just wanted to kind of share a story that I heard from a local business owner who had to deal with an ICE encounter recently. Apparently, ICE agents did enter their business and they did demand to see employees' I-9s and IDs. There's no indication that they had a warrant, but they did go in there to demand to see the identification. They even did not present themselves as ICE. They did presented themselves as Department of Homeland Security. And I believe that was just to hide their intent at the business. So from what I heard, the manager there attempted to call the business owner. And as they were getting them on the phone, the ICE agents tried to question the employees of the business and said that the manager said it was okay to provide their identification. And the manager did not say that that was okay. Eventually, the owner did get on the phone and the ICE agents did leave the establishment and there is nothing illegal going on there with the business or their workers. but I heard that they did walk around Waikīkī and possibly go to other businesses. So I'm not here to talk about unauthorized or authorized workers. I actually wanted to share this for other business owners or workers. So that way they can understand to look up their rights and to know what they can and cannot do when ICE shows up at a business, either as a business owner or as an employee. I also want to share this in the attempt that any elected official or the board here wants to take any action on this story, because if it's happening at one business, it might be happening at multiple. I also want to bring this up because in the mainland, it's being reported that there are ICE raids that are arresting or detaining American citizens, including military veterans, which is very troubling. In addition, the Trump administration did revoke a rule saying that ICE could go onto school and churches to arrest people. And I have no idea if that's happening here in Waikīkī or on our island, but that is something to keep in mind. So as I asked before, it's good to know your rights. And one of the resources out there is the National Immigration Law Center at nilc.org. Thank you.
I see a hand back there.
Sorry, I've just got a question about the street sweeping. If there was discussion before that was decided, I tried to find it online and couldn't find anything. Does anybody know about right down the other end of Waikīkī? We live between the PEPE and the Alawai Boulevard Bridge. And now Mondays and Fridays, they do street sweeping twice a week, and they're enjoying towing about 20 cars. The issue is not only that, it's just that our building has an area right in front of it that we as a building use for moving in and out or for 5-second parking to help somebody get into their car or whatever. And when it happened last week, our manager went out there and said, look, we've got people moving today. And they said, bad luck. And they put a ticket on the car, and then they were trying to tow the truck. So we just want to find out. I have so many people that have, it's low income there, and they all have to park on the street. And since when did we need twice a week street parking, street sweeping? We understand that they want to get rid of the cars that are staying there illegally for more than however many hours you're allowed to stay. And we understand that they need to come along and do their job and get rid of those cars. But it really is hard for the people to be there at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and same on Fridays. So we would like to find out when that happened, how did it happen without the residents knowing? And I think there's other people who would like to share the same things.
Yes, I'd like to follow up with what Shelley was speaking. Again, my name is Rod Stainage. I've been a resident of Oahu for 43 years and lived in Waikīkī, again, this time for about 11. In the 40 plus years, I remember when I used to go park for the wave, that area between part of Alawai, between Kalakaua and Ala Moana Boulevard has been very much residential parking. And we've been very happy. And there's still residential parking that is unmetered on Hobron Lane, where it turns the corner towards Ala Moana. So literally for the last 50 years, Alawai Boulevard in that area the street has never been cleaned. So it is preposterous to us as to why all of a sudden now, in the name of street sweeping, and I don't know if it's the city or the state, and please correct me, needs to do a money grab and put out 75 tickets and then tow 20, 30, or 40 cars. And this starts at 8:30 to 11:30. And I've personally witnessed numerous times Well, first of all, I saw them throwing up the signs. There was never any letters to any residents saying that the parking was going to change. No information given to anyone. It's just sort of everyone was just blindsided. And the people that live and rely on that parking, they're living in one-bedroom condos that have 5 parking stalls for 18 units. And it's not like they can just go rent a parking stall somewhere else. But the city, or who is it that imposes this, please? Does someone answer this?
I believe the street sweepers belong to the facility maintenance branch.
Well, and not the street sweeper, who decides or implements this?
City council.
Okay, so the city council all of a sudden decided, maybe in response to a couple of people complaining that there's 5 or 6, there's some cars that have been left there for too long. But instead of acting on those individual cars, checking to see which ones have expired tags and such, they've decided to punitively punish everyone on the street who lives in that neighborhood. And we live there, we own there, we pay the taxes. We do feel in some way that this is our road. And people bought there knowing that they could park there. And now with literally 1 week's notice, they just slapped up the signs and then started towing. 1 week later, they started ticketing, and 2 weeks later, they started towing. And they start ticketing at 8:30 in the morning. The street sweeper comes through at 9:30 or 9:45 when 80% of the cars are still there. And we're talking about 180 cars. 80% of the cars are still there. The street sweeper kind of weaves through the cars, doing a really crappy job, pushing dirt around. And then an hour and a half later at 10 o'clock, Honolulu Towing Company is still lining their pockets towing vehicles. Now, to use an analogy, maybe you all watched the Super Bowl, they have something called unnecessary roughness. If somebody's out of bound, you don't hit them and knock them down. So if the street sweeper has already gone by at 9:30 in the morning, why do you need to tow a car to make room for a street sweeper at 10:30? It's abusive. It's an abusive overreach of power. And I'm personally offended. I have never had my car towed. I don't use that parking, but I'm a licensed real estate agent. And I take care of my neighbors. I care about my community. And I'm really, really offended of how this has gone about. It's just completely unnecessary. These people don't have, if you're a nurse and you work at Kapi'olani Women's and Children's, you work the night shift, and you come home on Monday morning at 7 a.m. and you put your car on that road and you go to sleep, and then oh, damn, I forgot. When you wake up at 12 noon or 2 in the afternoon, you go buy your groceries, your car's gone. I mean, that's just not right.
Thank you.
Hey, Robert, thanks for that information. I live in that neighborhood. I had no idea. When did the signs go up? Okay, so it's been 3 weeks. I'm out of the loop, but not too far out of the loop. Agree with you guys 100%. And I don't even own a car, but everything you said is valid. And personally, I don't know why they would approve street cleaning. Our streets are pretty clean in that area. And they just got, yeah. And I also, Robert, you said something, if the issue is cars sitting there for months on end, people living around, then that needs to be addressed, not punishing the entire neighborhood. Totally get it. Like I say, this is, I guess because I don't own a car, don't drive, I'm not really privy to it, but this definitely requires some addressing from city council, from the city, and then let's get it rescinded.
We had a correction on that. I'm sorry. We had a correction that said what? Department of Facilities Maintenance. Yeah. So, but we have our city rep here now. She can take a note and find out why that happened. Who do we have here? Amanda?
Hi, Chair Finley and Board. Thank you so much. I am taking note of all of the concerns, and we do have a pending request for more information about this after my discussion with Mr. Sainonge. Thank you so much for being here tonight. And again, it's not the City Council. We have no control over that. We did not approve or review that decision, and it is with Department of Facility Maintenance. So as soon as we get more information back on why that's happening, we'll definitely report back. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Anything else from our audience, citizens' concerns? Anything else? Okay, we'll move on. Next is public events. March will be a busy month. Sunday, March 9th, 7:15 a.m. to 1 p.m. Rainbow Idiki race. I didn't pronounce that right. Mostly that's in Kapiolani Park, foot race. Sunday, March 9th also, 3:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. Honolulu Festivals Parade will be held. Monday, March 17th, 11:20 a.m. to 1 p.m. will be the annual St. Patrick's Day Parade. And Saturday, March 29th, 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. will be the National Vietnam Veterans Parade. So March will have four events. March will also be the beginning of the repaving of Kalia Road, as I last heard the announcement. So for those of you that use Kalia Road, traffic will be a mess during March, and it will continue until December. Applications for liquor license, I didn't get any in time for this meeting. Elected officials, Nola, are you here representing the mayor? Oh, there she is.
Good evening, Chair Waters, members of the Waikīkī Neighborhood Board. Thank you for having me this evening. I have quite a number of responses from the last meeting, so I'll just mention the mayor's monthly newsletter. You can find it online at www.8.honolulu.gov/mayor/newsletter. And he talks about a lot of things in the newsletter that have gone on over the last month. And although it's not technically in the Waikīkī district, the city has started working on repairing the seawall out by the Queen Surf Beach for everyone to hopefully use soon. Last month there were a number of issues. Before I go into that, I want to remind everyone again about the 2025 neighborhood board elections. The registrations for the elections are open and the candidates can still register to run for the neighborhood board. www.honolulu.gov/NCO. And if you can also call the neighborhood board if you have any questions about being on the board, 808-768-3710. So we encourage people to run and also to vote. So on February 21st, Friday, the candidate and voter filing deadline. Friday, April 25th, the voting begins, and Friday, May 16th, the voting ends. And anyone can run to be on the board, and as long as you're 18 years of age, and you have to reside within one of the neighborhood board that you're running for. And anyone can also vote as long as you're 18 years of age. Okay, so just to respond from last month's, I'll just start with the first issue is regarding bike speeding enforcement. This was for HPD. So resident Amin and board member Jacob raised concerns about large packs of scooters and mopeds speeding and doing wheelies near Ala Moana and Kuhio Street. And board member Jacobs requested DUI checkpoints and resident Amin asked for more foot patrol. So the HPD response is that District 6 continues to take enforcement action for traffic violations, including the bikes, scooters, motors, and mopeds and electric bikes. So from November 1, 2024 to February 1, in just a period of 3 months, the officers in Waikiki arrested 7 adults and 2 juveniles for reckless driving of moped scooters and electric bikes. Officers are also continuing efforts in enforcing the driving under the influence laws in Waikiki. District 6 officers made 17 operating a vehicle under the influence of an intoxicant arrests in January in 2025. Foot patrols are coordinated periodically when staffing permits in response to 911 calls for service would not be affected. So again, foot patrols, I know that we've had a lot of requests, but this HPD says that they can only provide that when they have enough staff and it doesn't impact their emergency responses. Okay, the next question was about the Honu camp on Kapahulu Avenue between Alawai Golf Course and the library. And I guess at the time there was a request to have a presentation at tonight's meeting.
I've been in touch with them and they'll be here in March.
In March, okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I can see that. Okay, great, thank you. So the homeless count, resident Doisman raised concerns that the point in time homeless count will not include homeless individuals living on the streets this year. Board members request a representative to provide a presentation in the February 11th Waikiki regular meeting about the homeless count. And DCS responded that they will include a homeless strategy update along with the Honu presentation. Do we have a date for that, Chair Finley? Okay, so we'll get back to everyone. Obviously not tonight, but perhaps in one of the upcoming meetings. Cooking fumes, resident Ben raised concerns regarding cooking fumes from IO Waikiki Barbecue Restaurant and Big Island Burgers entering into his workplace on 334 Seaside Avenue. The Department of Permitting and Planning, the Building Division has no purview regarding the issue of cooking fumes. And so they asked the resident Ben to follow up with the State of Hawaii Department of Health, Noise, Radiation, and Indoor Air Quality Branch. And there's a number here. I don't know if he's here, but it's 808-586-4700. Okay, the bus lane on Kuhio Avenue. Resident Amin asked if bikes can ride on the new red striped bus lanes on Kuhio Avenue. And the response from DTS is that bikes are allowed to use the bus only lane on Kuhio Avenue. The right lane is for buses, bikes, trucks, and right turn only. Signs are posted along the bus only lane to clarify that language. Okay, the next couple are for DTS also, but the next 2 questions are about the Beaky bikes. So the Beaky Bike Station relocation, Member Catherine and Chair Finley requested the Department of Transportation Services relocate the Beaky Bike stand near Jefferson Elementary School. And DTS, let's see, has allowed the Beaky Station at the intersection of Kapahulu and Kuhio to be relocated. Okay, due to an upcoming perimeter fencing replacement project at Jefferson Elementary. And the Beaky Station holds an active street use permit and occupies 2 metered parking stalls. Delineators have been installed in front of the station for added safety. Once the fencing project at Jefferson Elementary is complete, the station will be returned to its original location and they will monitor the location and move the station if necessary. I understand there was an accident.
I got a report that somebody ran into half of it
Yeah.
and the city actually moved it up on the grass, so it's no
they have
longer on
moved
the
it.
street.
Okay, okay.
That was reported to me.
It's
the
out
other
of
day.
commission, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit and run on Beaky bikes.
Well, that solved that problem, I guess. Okay, so then there was an issue about rusting of the Beaky bikes, and member Mizakian raised concerns that the Beaky bikes are rusting and fall apart, and asked about whether DTS is planning to do anything to make the bikes less susceptible to the environment. And DTS response is that they manage the oversight of the bike share system. Bike upkeep and maintenance falls under the service provider Secure Bike Share Hawaii. And they notified SBS of the concerns, and SBS has said they will send cleaners to stations regularly to perform routine maintenance on all the stations and focus particularly on those located near Waikīkī due to the increased exposure to salt air. Okay, the next question was also for DTS, but it was about construction cleanup. Resident Wensek requested that the debris left from the sidewalk improvements that occurred during the holidays be cleared at 430 Keoneana Street. And DTS says they did not issue any street use permits for contractor on Keoneana Street, and they did refer this to DFM. So I guess the neighborhood board will now have to follow up with DFM. I'm not sure what this current status is of the cleanup, the items that need to be cleaned up on Keoneana, but we will follow up with DFM. Okay, there's a question regarding police recruitment. Member Worth asked, what is mayor's plan to increase police recruitment? And the HPD said they have developed several programs to increase recruitment. The police services officer, formerly known as cadets, the position is transitory and interim employment for individuals interested in pursuing law enforcement as a career, but who do not yet meet the age requirements for appointment to be a police recruitment. So you have to be 21 years of older to carry a firearm. So this program allows them to recruit right out of high school and keep people in temporary positions as cadets until, so they can get a feel for what it would be like to be a police officer. So it's a way to create a pipeline from high schools to the police academy. Applicants go through the entire application process. Minimum qualifications include a high school diploma and a driver's license. They have an internship program called the Pathways Internship. The program is for college students who are scheduled to graduate soon and from college and who intend to start a police career with HPD. They bring selected interns on immersive internships in the last semester of college that expose them to the profession and prepares them for the police academy. While in the program, the interns can currently undergo the application process to be a police recruit, and they must have minimum 85 semester credits, at least 2.5 GPA, and enrolled in full-time accredited bachelor's degree program. And the Skill Bridge program, the HPD was recently approved last year to be a Skill Bridge industry partner, which is to partner with the military service to bring some of their soon to be separated military members to the police force. And it gives them an opportunity to get to know the police department and to see if it's something that they would be interested in. So I think, and then most recently, what isn't in here is the mayor did approve and the HR department did approve for HPD to give a recruitment incentive bonus. So they are paying a $25,000 recruitment bonus for a couple of years until they can't afford it anymore, I guess. But they has actually generated quite a number of interest in applications. I think the main issue for the police department, which is something that is not easy to, I mean, when you think about it, you would understand, but the process for becoming a police officer is very challenging. It's very difficult. You have to pass physical test, psychological test, exams, written exams, and then you have to have a very, have to pass a very extensive security background test. So it's not easy to pass, and you have to pass the drug and alcohol requirements also. So these requirements, there are a lot of them, and it takes quite a long time to go from the applicant to basically a police officer in training to become a police officer. It takes more than a year. And sometimes they don't make it because they fail one of the tests or they can't meet the security background, which is really, really quite extensive. So our police officers, when when you see them, it's probably the most difficult position to enter into of all the public safety positions that we have. And that's the way it should be. They protect the public and they carry firearms. So, okay, then the last two questions were about feral check-ins. Member Easley asked, what is mayor's plan to deal with the increasing population of feral chickens? And then we also got an email raising concerns about the increased population of feral chickens at Jefferson Elementary, Aloha Drive, and Royal Hawaiian Avenue. And the question was whether CSD, which is the Department of Customer Services, can they give priority to Jefferson Elementary as the chicken population has tripled in the past month? So to answer those two questions, the CSD gave a couple bullet points, but the city and county of Honolulu, they said they understand the concerns regarding the increasing population of feral chickens, and they understand the impact, and they're committed to addressing the issue effectively and humanely. So what their activities include, they have contracted a control contractor to manage feral chickens on city properties and offer support for services for private properties upon request. So they have a contractor that helps, basically manage the chicken population. They're coordinating with the state. They've collaborated with legislature, Department of Ag, and Department of Health to request funding and to develop long-term solutions for this problem statewide. Public awareness efforts include education on feral chicken impact and best practices to reduce food sources contributing to the population growth. And this includes establishing signs at public property, also working with the state to raise public awareness of the challenge and how to assist the effort to curb it, which is one of the main problems, is that there are a lot of people who love chickens and feed them. So for every chicken person that hates chicken, there's someone that loves chickens and feeds them, and they take care of them. So that's what they're referring to when they're talking about public education about the issues and the problems that feral chickens create. They gave a website, and they asked if anyone is interested to go to the website to get more information and to get the name, to contact them to get more information about the private contractor. It's www.honolulu.gov/CSD/feral-chickens. And they've also asked council for a proviso in the budget for fiscal year 24 and 25 to help manage the chicken problem. And then about the specific areas, Jefferson Elementary, Aloha Drive, and Royal Hawaiian, again, they kind of reiterated that there's a contractor with the city, Sandwich Isle Pest Solutions. And although that the contract is only for city properties, they do have a program where they can provide some help from the contractor to facilitate capture of chicken on private property. They did want to say that Jefferson Elementary is a state DOE property, which is a challenge. We're not allowed to go into state property for things like killing chickens and maintenance and all that. That's their purview. And so they're willing to work with DOE and other stakeholders. So that's about all they could say about that problem. So any questions?
We'll start with the audience. John?
Hi, Noah. I think for at least 2, maybe 3 months, one of our board members in our condo building, Ed Springer, brought up the Beaky bike rack that was in Kapahulu. And to prove that it's not just boy who cries wolf, last week I heard a loud crash and a Jeep went into that rack full speed. Jeep somehow was going the wrong way. I don't know how that happened. But the point being that when people complain not once, twice, 3 times, they do it for a reason. And, it gets frustrating sometimes. And I'm from New York. They built the Empire State Building in 13 months, and we can't move a bike rack in about that same amount of time. It gets a little frustrating, and this one came true. So I just want to point that out. Thanks.
Aloha, Nola. Thank you for the follow-up. And I saw today that you were renominated for being Director of Human Resources. So I'm glad you're going to be sticking around, and I appreciate you coming to these board meetings. I would thank you again for the follow-up on the sidewalk issue. I saw there's some more sidewalk work going on. Just friendly reminder, please just make sure whoever at facilities maintenance is doing their after work cleanup. I really appreciate all the sidewalk improvements going on in the neighborhood. You see, make sure there's a little tidy up afterwards. And then I'd just like to follow up on something I brought up a few months ago. I raised some concerns about the safety of a few roads that I live by, Powell Street, Namahana, Kalamoku, and New Street. Just wonder if there's any follow-up for those concerns. It was just briefly about sort of the parking challenges on those side streets, which are really main roads in and out of Waikīkī onto Alawai to get people in and out of the neighborhood. And it's just really unsafe having the intermittent street parking there when you're navigating bus stops, people coming and going, and then just the usual street activity, people walking, biking, everything like that. So just looking for some follow-up on that. Thank you.
Other members of the audience, questions for the mayor? Seeing none, go ahead. Oh. Or was she?
I know, just one question. I noticed at the end of last week, I was down by McDonald's across the street and they're installing lockers. And I understand it's some kind of a pilot program through the environmental department. And I have no say one way or the other whether I think it's a good idea. What I am wondering about is when I checked on it, I found out that this is some kind of pilot project, but all the money for that is going to the vendor and no money is going to the city, yet it's on the property. So I'd just like more information on how long that pilot project is going to last and if the city is ever going to get any money. It's expensive, from what I understand.
Which is the, I'm sorry, what is the program that you're referring to?
They've installed lockers for people at the beaches to be able to put their valuables in and you pay to use the lockers.
Hi, I see we both got the memo. Am I the only person who dines in restaurants on their lanais or outside and have several pigeons land on the table and on the chairs and on the empty tables next to you? I mean, I just cannot believe I completely understand the thing about the chickens, but the pigeons are disgusting. They poop everywhere. They poop on the picnic tables, in the parks. It's just disgusting. And I mean, I know there's that birth control feed that, feeds, and there are people who think that the other birds who may eat it, that could affect them. Technically, none of the birds that would eat it are native birds. But I was thinking, if you can't do that feed, could that contractor put a bunch of feed and the pigeons would come and then maybe get comfortable in a cage and then cart them away or something? I mean, there are like thousands of them now. So anyway, I'm tired of them.
Thank you. I'm not sure that the contract is for pigeons. I think the contract is for feral chickens, but we can ask CSD. I think again, one of the main issues is that, people are not allowed by law to feed birds in our parks, and even in the park, where I work, people come and they come specifically to feed the birds. So it's an uphill battle when you are talking about the feeding, because that's what makes the animals have an affinity for human people, and they come around you when you're sitting down because they think you're going to feed them. But that's an issue that's very difficult to change. So, but
Daniel?
I know, I had asked about crosswalks being automatic versus having to push a button, specifically on Alawai Namahana, which was mentioned earlier. The Ambassador Hotel has got a lot of people in it now, so that's a difficult place. I think my question for the last meeting for you was, the Department of Transportation, I believe, responded to our concerns and pretty much told us to pound sand. My question to you last month was, is that all we're going to get? There's no concern. There's no thought to put the light to become automatic without pushing a button.
Yes, we can ask them again. I mean, I think that they feel that, you know, it's safe enough and whatever the lights that they have there. I'm not really sure what the, you know, why they don't want to do anything more, but I think that they feel that there's enough, you know, what they have in place, and perhaps it's a funding issue. I don't know, but we can ask them again.
I mean, I hear that response from every government entity that stands up there. You know, we're not willing to help. Sorry. So, you know, it's unfortunate when you have Waikīkī being the commute, you know, the pedestrian place it is, to just care more about people who are commuting through the neighborhood rather than the people who are walking the streets every day. That's very sad.
And it might be a question of funding. I don't know. I mean, I know they probably have projects that are priorities, so it's possible they have it on the list, but it may not, you know, be at the top right now. I'm not sure. But again,
Hi, Nola. Just a question on the exhaust fumes that were going into the business that was discussed last month. The one where the Big Island Burgers. Did you mention that DPP does not have authority for overseeing the equipment and the installation of the equipment? Or just the fumes? Because I realize there's an exhaust fume.
yeah, they do not regulate cooking fumes, I guess, and they're saying that is part of the State Department of Health.
Okay, I think there's two issues here, and I'd ask if you could go back, because I think there's a confusion by, which is often happening with DPP. They don't seem to have the staff that understands issues properly. And if you go back to DPP and let them know that these are new restaurants, that appears to be brand new equipment, these exhaust fans, there has to be some regulations for installation. And I've never seen anything like that in my life. So if that's correct, and there's a code for how high these things have to be and how the exhaust is pushed out, that's DPP. The fumes themselves, where the scrubbers or there's something not being done properly, if they're installed correctly, I can understand being with the Department of Health.
Okay, so you're questioning the installation of the equipment, not the fumes.
I'm questioning both. So there's two issues. In my opinion, the equipment was not installed properly. I can't imagine that
Okay, so that may require, you know, I mean, this is a technical issue that, I think what's happening is we're giving DPP some general information, and you're saying there's specific information, and they would need to get a specific, you know, what is it about the equipment that looks faulty? And that's probably a
Correct.
conversation.
Correct. And when we're done, I can walk aside for a moment and show you a photo.
If
Maybe that's helpful.
Anson, can you get, yeah, and he can get your contact information,
I will.
because it may require a call. Sometimes, you know, where there, it's getting interpreted between two people.
I'll send an email with photos directly to your office. Thank you.
If you have pictures of it, please also send me that also.
I will.
So
And videos.
at least I get a reference to it. That's why.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're great.
Sarah, did you have your hand up?
I just wanted to, the lady right here, she brought up earlier, I believe you addressed it last meeting, but it seems like it is still an issue. So would you mind explaining to Nola again what the issue was? Appreciate it.
The restaurant is encroaching on the sidewalk in a way that is prohibiting ingress and egress. If there was a permit issued and now it's expired, but they're waiting to see if it's renewed, why has that not been resolved so that they get back into their footprint? They don't own the real estate of the sidewalk. Did I explain that okay?
From my notes, it was you were going to follow up with Department of Planning and Permitting. to get more information. And you had stated that HPD was going to cite the restaurant. So I just wanted to see for next meeting that we have a follow-up from Department of Planning and permitting.
Oh, is the furniture still on the sidewalk?
Their footprint has not changed since, I want to say, conservatively, 2021.
It is, okay, so is it just signage or is it tables and
Oh,
dining equipment?
no. They have artificial grass as well as double tables on the sidewalk. It's encroaching on the sidewalk.
I think the city is getting ready, the council is getting ready to look at renewing that outdoor dining pilot program. Right now, it was a pilot and I believe it ended. So I think that's why permits are no longer valid.
So if it's in the process of being renewed, why are they still on at the public space?
We can I think it's an HPD enforcement issue, so we can let them know that I think they said they were going to go check on it. Yeah.
Well, I've heard this since last year. But thank you.
I just think sometimes when NOLA approaches HPD, there's a little more clout. So I appreciate you following up on that. And I do have to back up John Deutschman, what he said about the Bicky station, the fact that Catherine brought it up and was adamant about how dangerous it was. And I'm not very, I don't feel very reassured that the report back was DTS is, I'm sorry, let me look at my notes, what was said. DTS is going to monitor it for safety issues. And lo and behold, there was a collision exactly like Catherine had said. And so the fact, I would be curious to know who in DTS dropped the ball. Someone dropped the ball. Someone was supposed to do a safety check on this and they did not. And they kind of gave us the placating, oh yeah, we'll do research on it. We'll look into it. I would really like to know for the next meeting who dropped the ball on that, because obviously it was a safety issue. And the fact that it's so near school, that is concerning. Mahalo.
There were two earlier concerns about the sidewalk or the crosswalk painting on LOI Boulevard and a request for facilities maintenance to inspect the water features on Kalakaua. So if they could walk through, they said they're getting fairly filthy. And you got it? I'm sorry, you got it. He took notes. I don't see any other hands. I don't. Yes.
Thank you for your comments about the pigeons. Birth control would be a good type of feed. And I love your fashion sense and that you got the memo. I didn't. I also have a concern about especially on Kalakaua, that the buttons don't work and the traffic goes by. You have to wait. And why aren't they censored? And I think that's what Daniel was getting at. If there's no traffic coming, the light should change. My last concern is about leaf blowers. The city uses them, and as a biker and a runner and a walker, it really, I mean, it's just blowing things into the air from one portion to the other, rather than, could they sweep a little bit? It doesn't have to look perfect, but it's certainly better than the leaf blower situation, which just pushes it from one area to another. Thank you.
I think that might be a question. I don't know if Rick is here tonight, but I know that between DFM and WBID, the maintenance is shared. So I'm not sure who does what, but we'll note it. He may be able to answer some of that.
Melissa? Oh,
Hi, Nola. It's Melissa, board member Melissa Feelick. I just was gonna see if you could make a note for whoever Jacob mentioned is doing a great job of the sidewalk repairs. It looks fabulous. However, one of the working crews or construction crews left a trash can with construction materials, maybe about a third full. It's on Kuhio on the Mackay side, on the Denny sidewalk. And it was about a third full with cement, concrete, construction materials that they had left behind for some reason. And now it is full of trash overflowing onto the sidewalk, and people are just throwing away things on the sidewalk because it will no longer fit in there. So I wonder if we can get someone to come pick up that trash can that got left
Sure, thank
behind.
you. We'll try to answer, maybe we can ask DFM, but again, I think that's a DFM WBID question, and Rick may be able to, or someone from WBID may be able to answer that tonight.
I don't see anything else. Nola, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Amanda, are you online for Chair Waters?
Finley and board members, Amanda Zabella here on behalf of Chair Waters, City Council. And thank you, Nola, for bringing us so many updates back and taking care of so many of these community concerns that have been discussed this evening. I just have one community update that wasn't already touched upon. An issue that has been circulating is a new food truck operation at 159 Ka'iulani Avenue. It was reported that there was a fire code violation with the location of the food truck. HFD, at our request, did conduct an inspection and confirmed there was a violation. The distance between the food truck and the buildings was less than the 5 feet required on both sides of the truck, which will impede fire department access and egress around the building. So the fire inspector relayed his findings to the food truck manager at the time, and then also completed a report noting the violations, which was sent to the property owner. DPP also conducted a follow-up inspection and noted several violations. One is that it does require, in the Waikīkī Special Design District, a Special Design District permit. It also needs to be removed from the existing loading zone. Additionally, a certificate of occupancy is required when changing the use of a building from the retail that it was to an eating establishment. And then there was approximately 3 plastic storage sheds being used to store restaurant equipment and supplies. That should not be there. And then the matter was also referred to State Department of Health as well. There were also several suspect wiring issues observed at the time of the investigation, which was referred to DPP's electrical inspection section. And lastly, there was a wall sign that had been erected without first obtaining the required sign permit from DPP. So several violations issued there from HFD, Fire Department, as well as Department of Planning and Permitting, with another investigation pending by Department of Health. So that issue is being looked into very carefully, and so we hope to see some improvements there soon. The only other update I have is just wanted to reiterate again for tomorrow's February Planning, Infrastructure, and Transportation Committee meeting. Bill 50 is on the agenda, and I just wanted to point out, Chair Waters really wanted me to clarify and make sure everyone is aware that there are 3 technical amendments in a proposed CD1 version that's posted on the website. Again, technical amendments. It only includes 3 definitions. The first one is to clarify the definition of agency to mean any federal, state, or city agency that reviews a street activity permit application upon the request of the director to assist the director in determining whether to issue the permit. 2, clarifies the definition of First Amendment street activity to involve expressive speech or conduct that is protected under the First Amendment of the United States Constitution and for which no fee is charged or required to participate in the street activity. That's nothing new in terms of what we've been discussing, but it is a technical amendment to the language of the bill. The third one is to amend the definition of street to include malls as defined, for which DTS has authority regarding permitted usage. So those technical amendments were at the request of Corporation Counsel. And again, Chair just wants to reiterate that there have been no additional amendments, no substantive changes, no changes to anything else that has been previously discussed or voted on at the last meeting. And we do encourage everyone to follow along tomorrow's committee meeting and submit testimony if you're able to. And with that, I'll take any questions or concerns you might have.
Questions for our Chair Waters? Audience?
Thank you, Amanda, for being here. I really appreciate you representing Chair Waters. I will say I won't be able to testify in person, but I did submit written testimony in support of Bill 50. So I look forward to that bill continuing to churn its way through. I was also pleased to see that Bill 24 for the primary urban core development plan is making its way forward. I think that if we adhere to that plan, that'll provide a lot of continuing good benefits to help us build a more sustainable, more human-centric communities and neighborhoods here in Honolulu. I would also like to say that I appreciate that the mayor recently just released a housing strategy. It says a lot of the right things, but we've seen this trend of we've got strategies and papers that point us in the right direction, but then the execution is a little off, or more than a little off at times. And I would just like to emphasize to Chair Waters that the City Council's done some pretty good work on permitting reform, on dealing with these backlogs, on reducing regulatory burdens that are keeping housing prices extremely elevated, and that for older structures that are really blocking necessary repair work that needs to get done. So I would like to emphasize to Chair Waters that as we move through this year, as we move through next year, to keep on the pressure to reduce these regulatory barriers, keep the permitting backlog clear, so that way we can really make Honolulu that much more affordable for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions, Chair Waters in the audience? No. Yes.
Hi, Amanda. Rob St. Ange. We've emailed each other back and forth numerous times, and I always thank you for being so kind and responding and often so timely. I did testify in opposition to Bill 46. I do believe it's going to be an absolute demise and an overreach of government. And I wonder if you have any information as to when that might come back around. I know I did testify at the last hearing downtown, and I understand the can was basically kicked down the road, but I don't want it to pop up and come around again without an opportunity for me to make my opposition and the reasons for it known.
Thank you for that question. I don't have any details on the timeline for when that might come back up, but I will say that it is a bill that is pretty important to Chair Waters and the City Council, and so we do anticipate that it will come back up again. What I'll say is that the Honolulu Records Collection website does have an opportunity to subscribe to email notifications for bills and resolutions, communications, and agendas. So you can get that email notification as soon as an agenda is posted. By law, it has to be posted at least 6 days in advance. So that's probably your best bet in terms of a surefire notification that that bill is coming up. I can also do my very best to put it in my notes for follow-up to let you and others know when it does come back up, and I'll make that commitment to you. But again, I really encourage you to subscribe to those email notifications for agendas and bills and resolutions.
Thank you, Amanda. I'll send you an email and hopefully you can respond with that information.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Board members, questions? Sarah?
So I just want to bring around a number of issues that came up from our citizens during the citizens' concern. One was fountains. A year and a half ago, actually, Tommy Waters said he was really excited because city and county had hired a female staffer who was dedicated to the arts around Honolulu. So she was going to address getting artwork into the fountains or doing something with the fountains that didn't require water. That was a year and a half ago. And then Ms. Steiner last year asked again about the fountains, and we were told that they needed to order a special pump and that it had been ordered, but yet the fountains are still broken. So my concern is, I guess we bring up these issues and then it feels like it gets punted. For example, also the fact that the street sweepers, we had a number of residents bring that up, and the issue was emailed to you 2 weeks ago. So I'm concerned where the status is about a return from the department. Has it been referred yet already? 2 weeks seems like a long time to wait. Usually the turnaround is faster than that. And I'm hoping that I can actually get the emails from the citizens so that we can do a group email, because it is a long time to wait, another month before we get an answer. So hopefully we can do a quicker turnaround on that. And then on Bill 50, I know everyone knows I'm against Bill 50 because I think we should have less parades and less street festivals, because the reason why we're doing this bill is because it's a safety issue. But yet we're not doing anything to address the safety issue with the parades and festivals. The reason why there's a safety issue because the fire department, HPD can't get through the crowds, can't get through the backlog of cars. So my concern is, yet we're keeping almost the same amount of legacy events and parades. Why is it that we're not concerned about safety when it's a legacy event? Why are we not concerned about safety when it's a Memorial Day parade? And also my last concern is, why do we have so many war parades in Waikīkī? Like this coming year, we're actually adding the Vietnam War. So, and people don't realize that December 7th is actually, the holiday parade is actually December 7th is for the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I just don't understand why we're allowing people to just claim that, oh, this is for the veterans, and that way they don't have to, well, before they had to give a certain percentage of their profits to us in Waikīkī, but now it looks like Bill 50 has removed that requirement, the new version of Bill 50.
Thank you for those comments, Board Member Worth. I will take back your comments on Bill 50 safety issues, but I will say that there is mitigation included in the bill for safety, for traffic related issues. That's all included in the bill, and it doesn't matter what type of parade or street activity it's for. It's for any events that would require mitigation for those types of concerns. So I do know that there are protections in the bill for those types of concerns. Regarding the Alawai Kapahulu water feature fountain, I do understand and agree with you. It's an issue that's been brought up a number of times over the years. Chair Waters did say and has said that he would like to see it treated as more of an art feature because it hasn't been repaired in such a long time. Department of Parks and Recreation is responsible for the water feature, and they've said repeatedly, and they stand on their position that they aren't going to repair it at this time because it's just too costly and it's not an appropriate location for that type of water feature. And so because of that, Chair Waters has advocated for other uses and just better maintenance of it, even as it stands. I actually do currently have another request into both DPR for the water fountain feature, just asking for any updates on plans for that, as well as for the grassy area surrounding the fountain, which is actually under Department of Facility Maintenance, asking them what the maintenance schedule is and what else can be done to better maintain that area, to make the grass greener, to cut it more often. So both of those requests are pending. And for the street sweeping request, again, we do hear you. We did facilitate that request to Department of Facility Maintenance. we unfortunately don't control how long they take to respond. The Department of Facility Maintenance is probably our most tasked department when it comes to city services. They are responsible for almost everything, it seems like sometimes. And so they really do take quite a long time to respond to things and to follow up, to replace street signs, to do crosswalk painting, to do sidewalk repairs, to do all of the things that we might expect to be done a lot sooner. But just because of their backlog and how much that department is tasked with and their shortages of staff and other resources, they just can't get to it as soon as we can. They, as we'd all like them to. I would encourage you to email dfmroads@honolulu.gov, dfmroads@honolulu.gov. That seems to be probably the quickest way to reach the staff and crews that are on the ground, are part of the road division staff, and they respond pretty quickly to community and to us, but they do prioritize certain things. So we have our own system at City Council for processing community requests, and we have to wait in line just like everyone else on a lot of things. So again, we're always happy to help facilitate and get you those answers back as quickly as possible. But there are opportunities for you to email or contact them directly, which might yield quicker responses.
Hold on just a second, please. Does somebody have the key to the ladies' room? No? Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
I do need that key to turn in tonight, or we don't have this room again. I have a lady with her hand up over here. Please use the microphone.
Sorry, I'm just not sure if there was a misunderstanding there. We weren't asking for there to be a quicker response to the street sweeping. We were asking, was there any discussion before you decided to do the street sweep? It seems like there's not enough funding, there's not enough time. We understand those things. So then why were you so quick to do twice a week street sweeping in a low income area where they need the parking?
I understand the question, and thank you. And that's what we're trying to help get responses for, because City Council is not responsible for street sweeping maintenance or schedule. We have no role or part in that decision making process for street sweeping. And I've not ever been aware of a time where the city has requested feedback on that type of maintenance schedule. So
who does make that decision?
I don't expect, it's Department of Facility Maintenance, and I don't expect there to be any public outreach about those types of changes. So it is sort of par for course that you would see signs go up indicating that there's been some change, and not necessarily like someone knocking on your door or a letter to your residence saying this is coming. But we do have some questions that are pending to the department on behalf of community members. And so we'll get that information back to you folks as quickly as it comes in.
Super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Chair Waters? Seeing nothing. Amanda, thank you very much for being, and I'm sorry I gave the wrong information about the street
No
sweeping.
problem. No problem. Happy to help clarify. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Senator Moriwaki is here.
Aloha and good evening, everyone. My report really is focusing on bills. We're just ending the first quarter at the legislature, what they call the lateral bills going to the first committees, and then it's going to go to the second committee. So all the bills that I think are being discussed later, some of that I have pretty much in the report that I have. I can answer questions. Adrian, Rep. Tam and I have been working together on either a House bill or a Senate bill. So if it's dead in one house, it's actually still alive in the other house. So there are a number of bills on noise and on crime, homelessness, and housing. So we can cover those bills as we go along, but that I can answer any other questions. Oh, and Representative Tam and I will be having a town hall where we will go over more detail, the legislation and any other matters on February 20th. So we'll discuss it there if you have any more questions on what comes out of the House and Senate at that time. So I can answer questions, or we could wait until we go over the bills.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah,
And where is it going to be on February 20th?
it's going to be at Jefferson School
Oh.
at library. At what time? 5? Oh, 6. 6? 6.
Okay. And we'll count on you being here to discuss these bills.
We will.
Thank-
So the other thing I just do want to mention, I also sit in the Ways and Means Committee and the Capital Improvement Project. So a lot of the work that you'll see is really improving the Alawai Canal and the waterways, but also trying to restore Waikīkī Beach. And we'll see where that goes at the end of the session, but we also are looking at putting monies into that.
Any questions? Let's do the bills first. Rep. Tam?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here today. So you have my newsletter. The newsletter does have some bills in it. Some are dead, but there possibly is a Senate vehicle out there for it. My updates are just as follows. Jefferson Elementary School had the chickens, and they have contracted it out to Sandwich Isles to set up several traps. They're expecting all the birds to be removed and the eggs to be removed by in 3 weeks. So I'll get an update. This week we had a lot of concerns about one particular homeless individual, and we did reach out to court, and they were able to find that person and provide services. I've also sent the complaint regarding the vents going into the condominiums from the burger joint over to the Department of Health, and they are aware. And I've also asked my office manager to get an update from them at sometime this week. And I will stay later to talk about the bills with Senator.
Any questions before we go on? Yes. Wait.
I just have one concern, and it has to do with the Department of Health. Maybe they could come and answer questions, because I noticed tonight there was a lot of things about the pigeons, about all kinds of different issues with the food trucks and things. It might be nice if they could come and kind of answer questions for people. And also underneath the underpass at Kapiolani and King, there are places where the birds roost, and the pigeon droppings under there is horrible. And there's bus stops there, and people that are wanting to go to the bus stop have to walk through all of that excrement that's all over the sidewalks. So that would be something that it would be nice. I think I've called a couple times the Department of Health, and they have cleaned it up, but they don't keep at it, and they don't do anything to keep the pigeons from roosting.
Okay. The governor's rep might be here, but we can ask her about the Department of Health sometime visiting as well. Thank you.
Hi, so I shared a story a bit earlier in reference to ICE agents that were at a local business here in Waikīkī. And my concern is making sure that people are aware of their rights when dealing with ICE agents, either employees or business owners. I tried to look up any laws that were in the legislature, and I saw one HB 457 on the Economic Technology and Development or Economic Development and Technology Committee, which I saw you're a part of, requiring state and local law enforcement agencies to notify an individual of their rights when they're arrested on a immigration violation by ICE. I was wondering if you can talk about that bill, or if it's still going through the committee, or if it has a chance of becoming law. I'm not sure if you know about it directly because you didn't introduce it, but I do think it's important people know their rights.
I'm aware, and yes, that bill is still moving.
And just a follow-up question to that. It seems like it's making sure that people are notified of their rights after being detained by ICE. Is there anything on that bill or any other bill that makes sure that people are aware of their rights beforehand, either requiring businesses keep a copy of or even post their rights when dealing with ICE agents?
I'm not aware of any bill that would do that. That was proposed.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else before we get into the bills? Okay, thank you. Next, we have the governor's representative. Yvonne, are you? Oh, there she is.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back with you. I'll be quick because I know we do want to discuss some of the bills in front of the House, but a couple of news items. Most recently, the Supreme Court decision in favor of the state and against the insurance companies on the global wildfire settlement. That has implications for a lot of different programs in the state, so it's good news. And our own State of the State address was somewhat eclipsed by all the executive orders coming out of Washington. So there's been a huge focus in the last couple of weeks by all the departments, including the Attorney General's office, to respond to the proposed pauses in some of the federal funding. And that's an ongoing effort across departments. So I'm happy to track any of that back and concerns that you have. And that's what we're doing as well. If we are on the verge of a constitutional crisis, there will certainly be pushback from the state of Hawaii to ensure that we're trying to secure the funding that's contractually obligated to us and in place as we speak. So I think those were the bigger things. I'm sure there are others I could mention. I don't want to take too much time. So perhaps if you have specific questions, I could run over some things that were in the newsletter, but they're all clearly there. Take a look at them. I can respond to any questions you might have. I mean, the focus of the State of the State was on affordability and housing, certainly. The condo insurance crisis emergency proclamation has been extended to April 1. I think it's fair to say affordability is the #1 concern of Hawaii residents. So yeah, it's kind of what I have for you.
Questions for the governor? Questions for the governor? Go ahead.
Just one question. Thank you for being here. So I noticed that Commissioner Gordon Ito, Insurance Commissioner Gordon Ito, stepped back. He's retiring, and the position is currently open. I also know that the emergency proclamation, I track the meetings, I attend some of the meetings. I've been interviewed by the group that was hired to contractually to administer what's going to go forward. A lot of questions there, but they have a lot of questions also. But I don't see, from my understanding and my participation, I don't see anything that's substantive that's going to actually help currently or help in even the the short term or the near term. And I'm concerned. So at some point I'll be emailing. There's a lot of testimony I'm giving at the legislature this year, but as an individual, but there's a lot with this insurance issue. And so now the question I have is, now that Commissioner Ito has stepped aside, do you know what's planned? Or I know Representative Psyche's got a side position under DCCA, but do you know what might be planned?
I do not, but we look into it.
Any other questions for the governor? Yes, go ahead.
So I had a question in a reference to the transgender community. With a lot of the executive orders coming out of Washington, there is a lot of fear among the community because so many of them are targeting transgender individuals. Is the governor taking any action or executive order that might help protect the transgender community here on the islands?
I'm not sure about specifically, but I think there's already been a press release issued about Hawaii's response on all DEI, which would be inclusive of the transgender community. So formal pushback. And I know in some cases, and I think that DEI is one of those, we have formed a coalition of 21 other states. It's not just Hawaii that's responding back on these issues. So.
Anything else for the governor? Thank you for being with us tonight. Appreciate it. Next, we have the Waikīkī Improvement Association. Rick, are you?
Good evening. I'll be brief because I know you want to get to your discussion on the bills. One of our major concerns right now is the pedestrian easement or implied easement in front of the area between Fort Drusi groin, so right where Fort Drusi ends. So next is I think it's Park Shore, then there's the Outrigger Reef, and the Halekulani, and Sheraton Waikīkī. And that area has been severely eroded. There's really not much of a beach there anymore for most of the day. There's a little bit of beach some parts of the day. But the problem is that makes for a very dangerous walk if you're trying to walk along the shoreline. You used to be able to walk along the beach, then go up onto the Halekulani walkway, and then cross another section of beach, and then go up onto the Sheraton Waikīkī walkway. That's not possible because the walkway, particularly between Fort Drusi and the Halekulani walkway, is severely inundated. There's just concrete that was under the previous beach is all broken up. The city has a entry point there where people can walk in from the street. The beach, it's closed. The city's fenced it off because the area, it basically fell into the ocean right in front of the area where the city has it. So we're talking to DLNR and the property owners, and we're looking to probably to try and temporarily at least close that walkway. The state put up signs saying it's dangerous, but you know, I think we need to formally explain to the public that this is not a safe way to traverse. And so we're talking to DLNR about it. Can we close that off to pedestrians until we can get it fixed, if you will? So that's the major point I wanted to bring up. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Kim?
Yes, I wanted to talk about that same subject. Those waves are hitting the Halekulani pretty hard. I mean, if you go into trying to think of the restaurant.
Orchids.
Huh?
Orchids?
No, the other one.
House without a tree or house without a
No.
house without a
It's monkey pod. Monkey pod.
monkey pod. That's not that's outrigger.
Oh, that's outrigger. Well, right there, I mean, it's dangerous as well.
Mhm.
And, I mean, I used to walk the beach from the Hilton all the way down to Duke's. You can't do that anymore. How long do you think that building's going to last with those waves hitting it?
Well, the building is structurally sound, but the areas that I'm concerned about, there's several areas where it's being undermined. And so I think Outrigger Reef, structurally, the building is still sound, but the waves are hitting it so hard, as you noted, that water comes all the way up into the restaurant.
Right.
And so they did put down, they have not shades, but they block it off, to keep the water off their patrons. But it's a bad situation, and it's really an obvious result of climate change.
Sure.
We're really getting a lot of inundation there. The ocean is higher now than it was just 10 years ago. And so the long-term project that is in the process, just finished the EIS in December, would be to build groins like the Royal Hawaiian groin all along there to have a protected beach. And the idea there is we'll put a walkway, a pedestrian walkway attached to the top of that, those groins, the wall that's the backstop to those groins. And that way people will be able to safely walk the whole area.
Has there been any analysis of how long that building can withstand that kind of pounding?
Yeah, well, I'm not an engineer, so I can't answer that question. But as far as I know, there's no structural problems that put that building in immediate danger. The structure that is in immediate danger is the wall in front of the Halekulani. That wall has been undermined, and they are working on coming up with a solution to structurally fix that wall. That wall is in imminent danger.
Yeah, it seems like it's an urgent situation.
It is an urgent situation. We agree. That's why we've talked to our senator and our representative too about this. But as I said, the EIS was approved, so we're looking to try and get funding to do the final design drawings for this project. It would take place between, as I said, between the Royal Hawaiian groin and Port Jerusi groin. It would really enable that, basically be able to create a beach and waterfront for the whole community there. Because one of the things that's part of it is we got to make sure we improve access.
Pardon me?
Improve access. In other words, have a walkway to get into it and over the top of it.
Well, thank you. I just think it's kind of urgent, and while people are making all these plans and not being able to figure out doing this or doing something else, that in the meantime, you're going to have a situation like they had in Florida.
Well, I think DLNR is working on some more immediate. I mean, a project like this is going to take several years. I think DLNR is working on some small scale, short-term mediations in this area, but I can't completely describe those to you. We're actually going to have a meeting next week where I'll get a report from them. So I'll know more next time if you want to bring it up again.
All right, thank you.
Sarah?
I wasn't going to say anything, but this is getting kind of tragic. So just so everyone knows, it's the Waikīkī Beach Improvement Association that is supposed to be doing beach replenishment. They took over from the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And months ago, I brought up the fact that when DLNR...
Sorry.
Sir, you always interrupt me. Please allow me to finish. Please allow me to finish. Sir, please allow me to finish.
All right.
Sir. So I actually do have the graph of where it shows where the DLNR used to dump sand, and it was in Jerusi, it was the Hilton, it went all the way down. Ever since the Waikīkī Beach Improvement Association took over, it's been going to Royal Hawaiian, Royal Hawaiian, Royal Hawaiian. So for years now, it's just been Royal Hawaiian, and then the next project was just going to be Royal Hawaiian again, and I went actually to Dole and Eversole, and I went to actually NOAA, I went to the feds and told them, hey, what's going on here? Why are we allowing walkways to collapse into the ocean, but yet we're still going to give sand to Royal, and the Royal now is 25% greater than it was initially when these man-made beaches were made. So because I complained at one of these meetings, now the plan has been changed. So now there is going to be in the next dump less sand given to the Royal Hawaiian, and it's going to be given to DeRussy and Hilton. However, my point is, I just wish everyone to know, we're supposed to be talking about the Waikīkī Improvement Association, not the Waikīkī Beach Improvement Association, just a side note, but he's the president of the Waikīkī Beach Improvement Association. And the Waikīkī Beach Improvement Association receives taxes, extra tax from the buildings in Waikīkī that have a certain amount of businesses. So they're getting extra tax to protect, supposed to be all the beaches along the way, but yet it's only been one. So I just want to make it clear, like it's sounding like it's DLNR's fault. It's not. DLNR handed the reins over to the Waikīkī Beach Improvement Association. Mahalo.
So the short-term answer is that that's just not correct. The DLNR is still responsible for the beach. The Waikīkī Beach Special Improvement District Association was created, as she said, with and it's funded by a assessment of commercial properties, only commercial properties, not residents. And those funds have been used to fund beach improvements and to supplement. In other words, like the Royal Hawaiian Groin, it was a DLNR project. They built it. We gave them money. So actual management of the beach is still DLNR's. It never changed. Never changed. Now, we actually worked with our senator and got money for a sand replenishment project in this very area that we're talking about. But as DLNR looked at the project, they deemed it to not be feasible. So we're looking at various alternatives to that at the present. So, you know, you just misrepresented that whole situation. I'm sure it's an honest mistake, but it's just not, that's just not the way it is.
So just so everyone knows, I will actually upload the documents into the Google Drive, and you can decide for yourself if I'm mistaken or not. Mahalo.
I'd be happy to see those.
Anything else for Rick?
Hi, Rick. I'm Laura Ruby. Two quick questions. One is the Army Corps of Engineers gone to sleep or out of business? People have told me that you had said to them that there was basically nothing that is going on with the flood walls and so forth. Would you have some authority on that? Would you have the contact? Because I've asked the other neighborhood boards, and I'm asking this board to have somebody come and do an update so we know the condition of what is going on in the flood walls. The second question is, somebody sent me, I guess, a video, I guess it was an advertisement for come to Waikīkī and open your business or whatever it said. And what they did is show a false drawing or semi photographic rendering of a bridge that goes across the canal with pylons in the middle of the canal, with the tower in the middle of the canal. And then the other text was saying, you know, here, open up your small business and everything. But the reality is that there's no business opportunities in a mile Mauka and no business opportunities in a half mile Mauka or Makai of that particular thing. Can you answer either one of those questions?
The question that I answered about flood walls was simply that had no information about the flood walls.
Okay.
Because I'm in the same boat as you. I've heard nothing since the last time the Army Corps, I think the last time I heard it was when the estimate of the cost came out and it was like $900 million. And that's the last I've heard. And I've heard absolutely nothing since.
You have a contact that's greater than Tyson's?
We contact them and we get the same response that there's nothing new. And so I haven't seen, if you could send me that, if you've got a picture of that advertisement you're talking about, I've never seen that.
Well, it's lost.
And I don't know who would be advertising that. But as you and I both know, no bridge has been proposed that has pylons in the middle of the canal. But anyway, I don't have any new information from the Army Corps. I've always said that I personally am not opposed to flood walls, but not if they're just bordering the canal. I think those walls should be as far away from the canal proper as possible, like they did in New York when they had the problem with the hurricane. You know, that area that is the low area should be set up so that it can contain the water and keep them from flooding people's personal, residences and property and the like. But I don't like the idea of the walls just going down the canal, parallel to the canal. But then it's not my decision. I'm just one opinion there.
Anything else? I don't see anything. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate
Sure
it.
thing.
Okay, we now have on your agenda, as well as some information that was mailed or emailed out this afternoon. Did everybody get that? Okay, for our legislation decisions tonight, I would like to do this like city council does. I'll make a motion. Ask for a second, probably from Lou. The motion will say we support the concept of whatever bill. I will ask the providers of the bill, Senator and Representative, to be here for explanation. We will have discussion. And at the end of the discussion, I'll ask if anybody objects, if anybody abstains, or everybody's in favor. Otherwise, we probably will run out of time to get through this list. Now, does anybody object to that? Yeah.
Just a little concern, as typical, and I don't mean to pick, but I have to when the information isn't provided in a timely manner. So I usually go on the, the weekend. With our board meeting on a Tuesday, it really should be prior to the weekend, or at least the weekend where we have our information.
Yeah.
When I went this morning, there was almost nothing in the shared Google Drive that was relevant. I do see there was a push of an email this afternoon, and then I saw that Anson uploaded it. Unfortunately, at that point, I didn't have the time to go through
I
it.
also included on the agenda that all these bills are at the state legislature,
Right.
and I referred everybody to them.
I see that.
So I assume that everyone did their homework by going to the state legislature.
I see
looking
that
at
on the
correct
agenda.
bills.
I do. I see that on the agenda. My concern is just that hopefully we can get to a point where information is provided timely. And I do see that it was emailed this afternoon. So with that said, I would like.
Yeah,
to,
this was just addition to.
Yeah. I'm not going to continue, but I'm just going to say that that's an important part of us making a decision on something like this, where many of us weren't privy to the PIG or how we're even going to get a report from the permitted interactive group.
Uh,
Well, the report is, Jillian prepared the handout. It seems to me that's the report.
But we're voting on something without real hard discussion on it or understanding some of these bills, unless we're going to go into detail on them.
I'm
Maybe
going
we
to
will.
ask the providers of the bill.
I think the idea is that if there are some questions and a good and some reason for discussion, that's my understanding that was the proposal. Yeah.
So I would like to start this, starting with Senate Bill 1146, which is still active on voting. So the motion is to support the concept of Senate Bill 1146.
Yeah. You want to make the motion? Yeah, I'll second it. This seems like this seems like kind of a no-brainer. This is just money to help clean up the debris management and the alloy. I can't imagine anybody's against that.
Senator? Oh, man.
Still works.
this bill is a result of what we're trying to do is clean up the Alawai Canal and the waterways, the streams that go into the canal. This is 1146, right? So it does give we're trying to bring the University of Hawaii College of Engineering into helping us look at some solutions that aren't the usual, which is the tubing that's in the, in the canal. Well, actually, it's in the small boat harbor. So they're developing some other technologies. So they're using it's to pay for 2 grad students and a faculty member to help us look at some other research, other places and what they do, and then looking at how we might pilot test some of these ideas. So,
Do I have questions from the board? Yes, Kim.
Senator, I like the bill a lot and thank you for introducing it. I just wondered about the amount of money, if that was going to be enough money to really come up with a solution for a very complex problem.
we have appropriated, or we have in proposal, what the College of Engineering told us, which is 250,000 for the 2 grad students and a faculty member, what they call what do they call it? They work during the summer and they work with the students. On the other side, there will be capital improvement monies, if we can get that into the budget as well, to actually do some pilot projects. And that would be about 750,000. So in total, it would be about $1 million that we're going to try to work through this session. And hopefully we'll be successful this session.
Other questions, board members? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is my concern, how this is going to end up going, because unfortunately, I've been testifying at the legislature quite a bit, and I haven't had a chance to go through all these. So just quickly, this boating one, when I look it up online, it comes up as relating to the Alawai Canal. So here it says boating, and here the measure title is relating to the Alawai Canal.
The title is relating to the Alawai Canal.
Correct. And there's a reason I'm saying this, because this is the information that the public sees and I see. And so my belief is that this should have a correct title. And at least so that at a minimal aspect that we can understand what it is. And then it goes on to say the detailed title is Alawai Canal Debris Management Water Quality Appropriations. I understand, boating can mean a lot of different things, and it could mean in the harbors and the other things, but this is specific to, it appears to be just the Alawai Canal. Is that correct, Senator?
Just to clarify, each of these bills have their own title, and that's how you identify the bills. What I think the neighborhood board did in terms of they're trying to, I guess, reduce the amount of space so that you really need to look the bill up. So may I suggest that, if it says Senate Bill 1146, you can just go right in and you'll see that it's a description of the bill. So, each of these, and if you've testified a lot in the legislature, you do know that each bill has a title and then it has a description. So I would suggest that you would look at that rather than what is listed here in your.
Correct. That's what I'm doing as we go through this. And I'm not going to interrupt for each one of these, but I just wanted to make a point of one, that it is just a bit of a concern for when we go through this. But I'll look up what you have there because that's a little more descriptive, and I'm just going to use my cell phone. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this bill? See no further discussion from the board members?
Yes, I just have a very quick observation. This is a fix at the end of the debris flow, where the upper reaches need about 4 catch nets to determine where the debris is coming from. That's not coming from down at the boat harbor. It's coming from way up.
It's going to be upstream. It's going to be upstream.
Okay, so several different catch points, so you'll be able to identify the yard waste.
What the faculty member and the students are going to be looking at is
Okay.
upstream because it comes from 3 streams
Right.
leading to the canal.
Exactly. Good, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion. Does anybody oppose this bill? Show of hands if you oppose this bill.
Are we able to abstain from?
I asked if there was any further discussion and nobody raised their hand.
It's a
Oh, you
question.
can abstain? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
That's my question.
I'm
Are we
having a
able-
hard time.
No worries.
Stuff tonight.
Are we able to abstain?
Yes, anybody wants to abstain, they may. So show of hands, any abstentions? 1. Any oppositions? I see none. So the bill passes then. Please notice the abstention, please. Yeah. The next one was deferred. So we're talking Senate
Wait.
Bill 403.
Senate Bill 366 does have a House companion, and that one's still alive. The House companion for that one is House Bill 211.
House Bill 211.
Yeah.
I think we can consider that because it's attached to Senate Bill 366, is it not?
66, the Senate bill is dead, but it's alive in House Bill 211, which is the companion.
Okay. I did not know that when I prepared this listing, but if it's the,
It's the exact same bill, and if you go on the website to look at the bill, there should be a link taking you from SB 366 to HB 211.
discussion on House Bill 211 as it replaced Senate Bill 366 on our listing. And I realize if you want to wait on this one because we didn't have it, but if it's the same words. Sarah, does that work for you? Okay.
I could explain a little bit. This is different from the first bill. This is a problem that came up in our discussion with both the county and the state Department of Land and Natural Resources, that a lot of the, all of you seeing the canal, that couches and refrigerators and bicycle. So what the problem has been is that people are dumping, or the homeless are on the embankments and it gets swept down. And so all of those items, personal items, come downstream. So this bill is to look at some enforcement of if your personal belongings are on or near the stream, and more than 24 hours, they would be considered abandoned property and they could be taken away. And the disposal will be according to the city's current process, which is they'll give you time to come and get your property, but a lot of times they'll ask the person whether they want the property or not, and they say, take it away, then they will dispose of it. So that's what this bill is about.
So the motion was supporting the concept of House Bill 211. And second from Mr. Erdicek. Okay, further discussion on this bill. Further discussion on this bill. Seeing no further discussion on this bill, anybody wishes to abstain?
I wish to abstain.
Where'd that come from?
Stephanie Easley online.
Okay. Any other board members wish to abstain? Any board members oppose this bill? Seeing no board members opposing the bill passes. And the next one would be Senate Bill 403, beaches.
This is dead.
This is dead.
So is 524. You have one in the house.
Good.
That was good.
So the next two, 403 and Senate Bill 524.
Somehow I see 363 ghost guns.
That was-
That's alive. That's still alive. The two above it, SB 366, no, SB 403 and SB 524 are dead.
Okay,
SB 363 is alive.
okay, so.
That's
this
a
is-
ghost gun parts bill.
Okay. And the motion is to support the concept of Senate Bill 363, ghost guns. For the explanation, Senator?
The police are having problems with ghost guns, but ghost guns in parts. So when you see these gangs, they will take apart the gun and they will have parts. So when the police go to charge them, they dismantle the gun, and so there's no gun. And so this is to close that loophole that all parts of the gun that are put together to create a gun shall be registered. So this is one way of closing that loophole.
Do we have discussion from the board? Any thoughts on the board for this ghost guns? Seeing no discussion. Any abstentions? Any oppositions? Anybody opposed this bills, Senate Bill 363? So no abstentions, nobody against it. The motion passes. Is Senate Bill 360 still active?
The House bill is. House Bill 212.
212. Motion to support the concept of House Bill 212. Seconded by Sturdicek. Discussion on House Bill 212.
So this bill basically creates a permanent program called the Return to Home Program in the Office of Houselessness and Housing Solutions to, the program will basically send homeless people back to where they're from on the mainland, but it's voluntary for them to join, and it helps them reconnect with a family member.
Board members, discussion on this bill. Greg?
Just one question. Senator and Representative, do you know how much money is being looked at? I know you might not know the exact amount, but approximate funding.
Right now, the bills are headed to our appropriations committees right now. We don't really have a picture of how much we're going to want to put in there right now. We are, as the governor's rep said, that we are monitoring what's coming down at the federal level, and they're having their budget negotiations in March.
Okay. Another way we could do it is, do you know how many staff is being requested, or is it just one? Okay, that works. Thank you.
Further discussion?
I do want to say that this is a building of a pilot project that was funded before for $100,000. I think WIA also kicked in some funding for it, or the HTA, one of the organizations. And so it was $100,000 that the Institute of Human Services actually got all of these. The funds were all let out, and people were connected with families on the mainland. So it's a good program that they're making permanent.
I think it's the WBID has been using their funds. So further discussion on House Bill 212. Seeing none. Any abstention? Any objections? Bill passes. Senate Bill 361, is that still good? Motion to support the concept of Senate Bill 361. Second, Mr. Erdachek. For the explanation, 361.
This is the community outreach court that the judiciary has been highlighting for like 7 years, and they're trying to make this permanent. This is where the judiciary, the public defender, and the prosecutor do outreach in the community. They've been working with homeless, giving them support services as well when they actually come in, and the three agencies agree, and the court then dismisses the charges against the person if they do community service or they get connected to community services. So it's been a successful program in the First Circuit, and they'd like to make this permanent.
Discussion from the board, Mr. Mertz.
Yeah, Senator, is there any way to measure efficacy of this or how this would make it permanent, which kind of concerns me, but I'd be curious who's behind this, how long it's been around, and is it reducing costs or reducing recidivism or whatever, based on what it does?
I don't know about the specifics on how they're collecting data or what their evaluation is. I know that it has taken people off the streets and put them with services. So I don't know the data. I could check with them and see what is, but you bring on a very good point on the efficacy.
Great.
An additional bill that is the companion, so HB 280 HD1. If that's, it looks like it's passed forward. If that's identical, maybe we would vote on both of them so that.
Could you repeat the numbers?
Yes, HB 280. And then it's at the HD1 level, but it looks like it's passed through so far.
Yeah, that's the House.
So if we're going to vote, it would be better to vote for both so that we have, in case one dies or something.
So my motion is modified to include HB 280, correct? Got to understand the legislature moves at lightning speed, and trying to keep up with it is very difficult. So a discussion on both Senate Bill 361, House Bill 280. Any further discussion on these two? Anybody opposed or anybody abstain on these bills? Any abstentions? See none. Any objections? I see none. These two bills are supported by the Waikīkī Neighborhood Board. Senate Bill 1628 and House Bill 943 support the concept of these two bills. And Mr. Erdachek seconds it. For the explanation.
Basically, it requires and appropriates funds to DOH to establish like a homeless triage and treatment center program and a detox. Sorry.
Any discussion, questions? Greg?
One question. Can these still be scheduled? They're both double referrals. Do we know?
So
Go ahead.
if it passed the first committee on the double referral, it still can be scheduled if there's another next committee, which will be the last committee.
So one of them, it looks like one was scheduled. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
House Bill 943.
There we go. Okay. One wasn't scheduled. So the one that wasn't scheduled is most likely going to die.
1628
Okay.
is dead.
Thank you.
So any further discussion? Any abstentions? Any objections? Senate Bill 361, House Bill 280 are supported. Motion to support concept of Senate Bill 1628 with House Bill 943.
Senate bill is dead. It's just the House bill.
Okay, so, oops, I'm sorry. So we're supporting just House Bill 943. Is that correct? Oh, okay. This is moving along faster than I thought. Any questions for House Bill 943? giving them a chance to look it up. Have you got it? So any abstentions? Any objections? Seeing none, support for House Bill 943 is supported. Motion to support the concept of Senate Bill 1147. I see no House bill to go with it. It's still live, right?
This was something that came out of Waikīkī HPD when Commander Slater was here. It was bill that we got the Department of Health that has noise meters and calibrates them, and it was going to be training HPD to actually go in and measure noise on moving vehicles, because Department of Health doesn't measure anything or doesn't enforce anything that's not moving. So it's mostly construction sites and so forth. So this was going through, and Rep. Tam and I met with the Department of Health and the prosecutor and also the Attorney General. But the new commander at the Waikīkī HPD District 6 didn't come to the meeting. So we are on a very tight schedule, and we couldn't get the bill out in time. So we're going to work on this in the interim. The Department of Health is very interested in helping us work on this, and so we're working through some language, but it'll be next session. But this is one that the Permitted Interaction Group brought forward, and so we're trying to get that through, but next year. So we still have to keep on the pig.
So
Senator, Representative, my concern with the noise meter thing is that they're not necessary. There's a current law, 1001, disorderly conduct. It clearly says that a disruption of the community is based on the time and when it happened, and the consideration of 2 a.m. in the morning of loud noise isn't going to work. I'd imagine this bill would have to come with funding for noise meters and decibel readers for the police to be used. And then it would have to come with education to maintain those devices, as well as, how to use them in the field. It sounds like more excuses for them not to do what we want them to do, which is enforce the existing law, which is sufficient. They came and give a PowerPoint presentation on multiple laws. So, when is it passing more laws knowing that they're not enforcing the ones that are on the books? And
In this case, what Department of Health and the Attorney General's office were talking about, and especially Department of Health, is that there's new technology now that you can actually use it as an app on your phone. It's not carrying around a big noise meter, but it's a matter of getting the meeting of minds with HPD, as you say, to say they will enforce it and use the devices. So part of the revamp of the bill is to actually make it simpler, hopefully, that at least one of the police districts will be willing to test it out before we go forward. But it is using the disorderly conduct ordinance. But it's how do you measure it? Because you go to court and you say it was loud. It was really, really loud. And so that's what they're saying they had problems with, is you need some metric.
how many times have they gone to court and had that trouble?
They don't, that's why they don't want to go.
Oh,
Because
so they haven't even tried it.
They said that they won't be able to do it. And so I know the previous commander, Platt, had all kinds of excuses for not doing it. So we were trying to find a way that Department of Health could work with them and find a way that would streamline the process that they would do it. So it was just a pilot.
It would be great. This whole community is concerned about noise. We've made that clear. Pushing another
Keep
vehicle.
trying.
Yes.
further discussion? Except the bill is dead, right? So that one's dead. Sorry. What? The bill is dead until next year. So talk to you next year. Yeah.
Next one.
Sarah, did you have a question? Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was just surprised we went over this bill since it's dead.
Yeah.
we can't vote on it, but I am concerned that hopefully that gentleman, if you're going to let a board member speak, I think the public should be allowed to speak, but I'm glad that Chair Moraki is going to speak with you afterwards. So I apologize to you, sir.
Sorry, thank you. Senate Bill 1216, aftermarket mufflers. Motion to support the concept of Senate Bill 1216. Is it live?
This is, yes, it's alive. It's alive.
The way you grab the mic, I
Not
say,
the noisy vehicles. It's alive. Trying on this one, but this is aftermarket fixing of your mufflers. Yeah, be able to find, at least move it forward.
discussion, board members. Any discussion on aftermarket mufflers?
I will add, there is like a similar bill that we also introduced, and that's also moving. It's just prohibits the issuance of certificate of inspections for mopeds or motor vehicles that have been altered or installed with a noisy muffler that increases the sound. House Bill 102. House Bill 102. It's very similar.
Modify my motion to include House Bill 102. Question for you, is there, are funds going to be put in this to support the people who do these inspections?
It's just your regular vehicle inspections. So they won't just have to inspect the car as how they do it currently. But it doesn't have an appropriation to it.
Because none of the safety check stations have decibel meters.
They don't need a decibel meter. They just need to observe if the car has been illegally modified to raise the volume.
Okay.
Yeah, if it altered.
Further discussion? Abstention, Chair? I abstain. I made the motion. Oh. Any objections? Seeing none? Bill passes. Senate Bill 596. I'm sorry, add to that. That was Senate Bill 1216, House Bill 102. Got the numbers? Okay. Yeah, I abstained. Senate Bill 596, tax credits for electric garbage trucks. Okay.
Yes, still live.
Okay. Questions for electric garbage trucks?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Ken.
Someone, I can't remember who brought this to my attention, but they were saying that the electric garbage trucks, you won't be able to hear the truck, but as they lift those big metal containers, you'll be able to hear that. So I'm not sure it solves the problem, but
It did come from the PIG.
And as Sarah just said, the backup beepers are the harshest part of that thing. Is there anything we can do about backup beepers at 3 o'clock in the morning or 5 in the morning? It may be flashing lights or something. Go ahead, Greg.
I don't know how to regulate that. You can't just turn it off.
Just one thought. I know there's electric trucks and we know there's the Tesla truck, but larger scale trucks I'm not familiar with, and I don't have an understanding of the battery technology and things, but there's a little bit of concern with powering these up and having issues where they have to charge and things like that. So that's a concern. So we'll see how I vote in a moment.
Senator, do trash pickups happen in your neighborhood in Kaka'ako in the middle of the night?
You know, they're private, so I think in Kaka'ako, the AOAO will contract with the trash company, so they come at various hours, so it really,
But do they come in the middle of the night?
not that I know of, but they might in other parts of Kaka'ako, but in our area, it comes at about 6 in the morning.
has there ever been a state law attempted or drafted to outlaw trash pickup in the middle of the night?
No, and it's really difficult, I guess, to regulate private companies because it's a contract between the company and the AOAO. And it's only for condos because single-family dwelling units are all being done by the city. So that's why they can regulate.
So
the
you think
condos.
it'd be like unconstitutional to pass a bill to prohibit
think-
trash pickup through the night?
I don't know if it's unconstitutional, but it is private contract. So, it's really difficult to be able to regulate that. Other than,
So we'll just let people, let their sleep be disturbed throughout the.
well, I think we've been talking about having ways in which the contractor and the AOAO come to some agreement as to times. And I know in Waikīkī it's difficult because we've had many meetings with trash collectors and we've lost one company already. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. We can continue to meet with them and see if we can find ways in which we can get them to come in later. But their problem is that in Waikīkī, there's so many visitors and they just cross the street at any old time, and especially in the early mornings. And their justification for not doing it later is that it's too congested. And HPD says you can't come too late because then you're blocking the street. So it's really a tough situation.
I don't buy any of it. I mean, you can't cross the street because the lights don't turn white or you can't see, there's not adequate pedestrian use anyway. I would like to see a bill next session where it's outlawed, and whether it's constitutional or not, let the Attorney General's office testify. I think it is appropriate both on the state and the city level to get legislation on the table for consideration that bans it, because it's really unexcusable. And, I'm surprised that the couple that have been coming for the last couple of meetings that have taken over for Carlito aren't here. It's sad to see people give up potentially. But I'm not going to give up. And so I'd like you guys not to give up, and let's try to hit this nail on the head and pass the bill next session.
Should give that to the pig, and then we could look at that and see how you can develop a draft for next session.
Another thought about that is like, we can introduce it and we can make it law, but you also have to consider the unintended consequences. As it is right now under the current law, I've been hearing about other places around the island that hasn't had trash pickups in weeks because they're understaffed.
I think people are losing sleep, and that's super important to not disturb sleep.
I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm asking you to also consider the other consequences of this if it were to pass like that.
I think everybody in here would prefer sleep. I mean, I could be wrong, but sleep is important.
So further discussion on Senate Bill 596, tax credit for electric garbage trucks. I don't know who makes electric garbage trucks, much like you, but and I think I agree with Sarah that the big problem is the backup beepers and the crashing the equipment in there. But yeah, everybody loves electric vehicles. So anybody abstaining from this one? You're abstaining. Greg's abstaining. Anybody object to this one? Jeff objects. Any others? We're counting noses. Okay. There's only 8. We need 9 to pass the motion. We'll give Lou a couple minutes to get back from the men's room. See which way he wants to go. In the meantime, this one is put in by Senator Rhodes, not by you folks. Senate Bill 405 to allow discussion on neighborhood board agenda items. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Explained it that they can, a third party can come in with an agenda item and speak up to it, and it can be asked questions.
Let's see, so
Clarify.
is it still live? So my motion to support concept of Senate Bill 405, discussion about 40. Oh, Jeff, you second?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not quite understanding what it does, or maybe give me an example of what this would look like implemented in a neighbor board meeting, for example.
So when we give reports, you can ask us questions, basically. Well, I think it was to clarify that you can.
Jeff, can you second that for me?
I second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Any objections? Lou, we need your vote. And Ellison, you're up next. We have two bills to pass. We need yes. Yes, yes. Next, we have bills on water safety. And I'd like to counting. Okay.
Hi, I'll make this quick. I know you're busy. I just wanted to show, we handed out earlier the first Hawaii water safety plan ever. It was done by the Hawaii Water Safety Coalition, and these bills are part of the advocacy recommendations in the plan. I actually wrote the plan because I'm here as a Hawaii Water Safety Coalition volunteer tonight, not in the normal capacity that I come. And the reason that I wrote this plan as a volunteer is because my daughter drowned in 2004. And so part of the recommendations, we have House Bill 1234. Hawaii has the nation's second highest rate of drowning. Our keiki have their leading cause of death for our keiki ages 1 to 15 is drowning. The leading cause of death, injury-related death for our visitors is drowning. In short, we have a crisis, a drowning crisis in Hawaii. So this bill, HB 1234, teaches, it's a pilot program to teach swimming lessons to students in schools. That's one of the big things that we used to have in the 1980s. Sharon remembers taking swimming classes in school, but we don't have that anymore. The other one that's really important to me, if we could pass the slides down, go on further. Native Hawaiians, and go on further one more. Okay, so I wanted to talk about 2 bills that are really very important to me. We had 4, 2 bills are still alive. They're for retention and detention ponds. I wanted to show you this because most people don't understand what retention and detention ponds are. But this is the pond that my daughter died in 2004. The drain pipe in it was 89% clogged. It's not supposed to be a pond. It's supposed to be dry at all times. And then if when a buildup of rain, it's supposed to have a little bit of water and slowly drain out. But because the developers chose not to fix an 89% clog, it turned overnight into a lake about the size of a football field. Where that tree is where the houses were in our community, and there was also a playground. Her friend fell in. He was 3 years old. She drove in after him. She pushed him to safety, but those ponds are not designed for humans to be in. They're not designed to hold water like that. It was slippery and muddy. And my friend, who actually was part of a group of Navy divers and other people who, we knew where she was, but they couldn't get to her. It took more than 10 minutes. And even my friend who pushed my daughter's body out of the water, they had to go in after her. She couldn't get out of the pond herself. So if we go to the next slide, I'd like to show you This is the pond fenced. They finally fenced it after she died. It's very massive, and you see the houses behind it. But what I want you to see is this is last year on the 20th anniversary of my daughter's death. I visited. Look at how high the grass is. Can we go to the next slide? This is the culvert. This is supposed to be the drain. It's blocked again, 20 years after a child died in the pond. So we obviously need some inspections, some safety regulations around it. It's a pretty common sense bill. It doesn't fence golf course retention ponds. It's really just in the neighborhoods. It doesn't do hotels. But what it does do is very practical and what things should be done anyway. And it asks for fencing, signage, and a life buoy so that if someone gets in the pond, you can get them out. I'd like to show you the next slide. This is my daughter. This is the reason I do it. If a 5-year-old can be a hero, we can all be heroes. So let's be water safety champions. I'd like you to meet 2 of them, water safety champions here. So please ask Sharon to schedule Senate Bill 1221 for WHAM. It's ready to go to WHAM. And House Bill 1233 is going to be heard tomorrow in the House Committee. Would really like to ask for your support for our Waikīkī. Thank you.
So just for formality, I'd like to support the concept of Senate Bill 1223, House Bill 1234, which is standards of water efficiency. Jeff.
Yeah, Allison, thanks for that. I know there's been there's a lot of these retention basins on federal lands and in federal housing and Navy housing areas, that sort of thing. I'm assuming we couldn't apply this to the Fed structures. Are there any regulations you know of? Because it's a problem on federal housing. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really can't address the federal stuff, but what I'd like to see is the state pass a law and then use that as a model for a federal law. I'm going to go
Perfect.
for it.
Exactly. Thank you.
Other discussion from board members? I think this one is pretty simple. Any objections? Any abstentions? Bill passes. Both bills pass. The second bill, the retention ponds. Motion to support the concept of House Bill 1233, which is retention ponds. Further discussion? Sarah, did you pull something? Oh,
You're asking for
yeah. Okay, so discussion on the second one. Any further discussion? Any objections? Any abstentions? Passes. And the third water bill, Senate support the concept of Senate Bill 1221. I think that's Mr. Erdicek. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, any abstentions, any objections? Seeing none, bill passes, or the motion passes. Now we get into, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. When I heard that we're number 2 in the nation of children dying in the water, and we're number 1 in the nation of adults dying in the water, that was very shaky. That was bad. We need to fix that. Okay, Senator, we're back, I guess. A motion to support House Bill 1057, Senate Bill 1376. These are property insurance bills. I know that our hardworking board members worked on this. I think anybody who lives in a condo should be happy to hear about this.
So those are dead, but there's another Senate bill for condominiums. House Bill 10. No.
17 or 1376?
Senate Bill 1044. It's a stabilization, property insurance. It's coming up to the Ways and Means Committee tomorrow. And this one is looking at the stabilization of property insurance with a couple of funds, the Hawaii Property Insurance Fund, and there's another one. Yeah, the Hurricane Relief Fund, right? And it's also HB 426 is still alive. There are two bills, HB 426 and Senate Bill 1044 with similar language.
Board members, you willing to accept these two bills in place of the ones on our
Yes.
list?
Yes,
Oh, yeah, so-
they're very similar. Yeah.
So the motion is to support Senate Bill 1044, House Bill 426. Discussion on these, 1044 and 426. I'd like to give you guys a couple minutes if you're looking them up on the site. Any further discussion on these two bills? Any abstentions? Any objections? Two bills, we support these two bills. Senate Bill, House Bill 1053, Senate Bill 1372, Condominium Association Use of Reserve Funds. 1372 seems to have been deferred. So only House Bill 1053 is alive, or is it?
Yeah, so House Bill 1053 allows condominium associations to take out a loan from their reserves funds to pay for insurance. I do have concerns about that bill. They do have to pay it back by within 12 months, I think. But insurance is every 12 months.
Yeah, Greg.
Yeah, I have concerns with this too. I've been watching this one. So it would require that it would require some more to the bill, and I think it probably would be better for the next session. I think associations are already, I know mine has already done this, whether it's appropriate or not, but owners need to be part of the process, I think, for any movement of funds for certain circumstances like this. And I don't think there's going to be time to amend the bill properly, so I think it'll be probably deferred.
Any further discussion on this? I've got to admit, as an association president, I tend to agree with what you just said. I think our owners need to be made available if we're going to borrow money and make them pay it back in 12 months. I know some large condominiums are doing air conditioning. I mean, not air conditioning, sprinklers, and it's an enormous amount of money. So any further discussion on this bill? Any objections? 3, I mean 4. Any abstentions?
I abstain. Stephanie Easley
abs-
online.
2 abstentions. So we'll hope that this comes back next session with. Okay, and the last one on our list is House Bill 877, and it prohibits construction of encampments near public and private schools. Motion to support the concept of this bill.
I think this bill is dead, unless there's a motion on the floor tomorrow too. But I don't think this bill's moving forward anymore.
Okay, so that one's dead. That gets to the end of our list of bills that we're considering. Also, oh my God, we're already out of time. And just for all of your attention, Michael Brown has resigned officially from the board. So Subdistrict 3 folks, start looking for a replacement if you would. I'm sorry we ran long. Try to catch up again next month. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.